All right, hello. How's everybody doing here? So I've been doing some testing here. We'll start with testing today. How's it going there, Variante? How are you? How's everybody doing? So we'll start with that. Let me just drop this music a little bit more. All right, so I've got a test bench up here. This is what it sounds like if I turn the sound on. So we're not gonna be having that sound on for very much, but we've got quite a few engines here. Let me go ahead and respawn this. Get this door open. I gotta fix a couple things in the save here too. It's quite obnoxious that this. Gotta save my thing here. Let me quickly save this and fix some of the options in the world. Do the date instead. That would be better. Let me just quickly get all these settings done that I need so that I don't have to do this every time I spawn in. Alright, there we go. Alright, so doing testing here on cooling. I'm going to do a video. So we've got a bunch of test platforms here. So they're all the exact same engine. They're essentially geared up to run a small generator. I think what I'm going to do here is let's go ahead and put in a different toggle here as well. Okay. Let's just do that, and then we'll go ahead and do this. Just want to be able to change these gear ratios over by 1 here, so we'll do this. So essentially, these are different cooling setups here, trying to test the best setup, or just mostly get some information. I more leave it up to people to figure out what best works for their system. But this is kind of just a general setup. So what do we got there? Let's go 215252. These should be all probably 52s. Let's run that like that. So we can draw some conclusions from some of these tests, but let's go ahead and we'll start doing some tests here. So the first one here is a control. This has no cooling. There is a timer on these. The timer, as soon as they hit 110 degrees, that's 5 degrees off of them catching on fire. I have a overheat protection system that at 110 degrees, it will stutter the PID so that it can't overheat. It will just kind of go into limp mode. As soon as it hits 110 degrees, it will stop the timer. So it will tell us how long it takes to get to 110 degrees. So these are currently geared up to 2.1. I've tested this with gearing up to 3.1. I've gone back to 2.1 because essentially if you put too much load on the engine, it's going to reduce the RPS. Of course, most of us know at this point, I hope, that if you reduce the RPS, you'll make less heat. I've got these running around 21 RPS, so that's pretty high. I generally will not run much more than that. In some race cars, I might go up to 25 because, every time you take a turn, you're reducing your throttle input, so you end up averaging below 20 anyway. I tend not to run over 20, especially larger engines. You see people running like 5x5s at 30. Like a 5x5, I run around 3.5 to 4 RPS. A 3x3, I'm running around 7. A small engine like this, the max I'll run is like 20, 25, 30 in an airplane maybe, but that's on takeoff. And then as you start to load up the engine by increasing the propeller pitch, it will start to reduce the RPS considerably, like you would IRL. You don't run at max throttle on most things consistently always. It's very rare. People do it in game, and then I wonder why they can't cool anything. So here's the control. This is started up. This one here is 2 small pumps. This one's giving me a little weird behavior. I'll have to try to figure out why it's doing what it's doing. We'll go through that in a second. This one here is 2 large pumps going into the cooling. One thing I'm trying to do is get the smallest number of pipes possible. So it's pumps, direct connected, the smallest number of pipes I can get. So here's this one started. This one here is going to be an impeller, small impeller with an electric motor. What I did was I put a keypad there and I kept increasing the number until I got the maximum flow rate so that I can use as little electricity as possible. As you can see, the throttle is at 0.185. That's as little throttle as I need on this electric motor to reach the maximum flow rate on this setup. So that started. This one here is now going to have not a ton of electricity until it builds up because it starts by itself. So let's do that one, do this one. Let's get them all turned on quickly because some of these are going to start using electricity, the ones with the electric motors, just the way I set them up. I should probably set them up where it turns it on when I turn them on, but I didn't do that. This one's a pain in the balls. Gotta walk around it. All right, so they're all on. Some of these I have multiple controls. Like this is a control. I don't need it. But, you know, giving me multiple controls will tell me when they stop. So this one here is the control. Again, no cooling whatsoever. This one will shut off. This one will reach 110 degrees the soonest. 28 degrees, yeah. It's, what is it supposed to be here today? Let me look. It's 81 right now. 81 Fahrenheit, which, what is it? What is it? I think it's... I'm trying to think of the quick way to do it. I think it's subtract... Let me see, what is it? Take the number, degrees, temperature, and subtract 32. Multiply this number by 5. Divide the number... That's too much there. There's some quick ones. All right, Fahrenheit to Celsius. Subtract 30 and divide by 2. So if it's 81, you'd talk about 50 divided by 2. So you're talking about 25, between 25 and 26 Celsius here. And then to do it the other way would be you would take Celsius, you would multiply it by 2, so you're 28, so 40, 56, and 30, so 86 degrees. That's the quick way to do it. You know, so if I put that through a F to C calculator, all right, so if it was 2882, so a little bit off. Because, like, the real way to do it is you would take 82.4 minus 32 times 5/9. And so 5/9 in your head is not you know, is not a lot of fun, so. All right, so we should be overheating here really quickly. I think it's about 220. It all depends. Like, I put up some numbers last night. That was at a 3-to-1 gear ratio. As you increase the load on the engine, it's going to slow down the RPS. There's a balancing as you add more load. You're gonna knock down the RPS, but you are gonna also increase the amount of load on the engine because you're also loading it up. So that is also going to contribute to heat. So 219 seconds for the control. So no cooling. It took 219 seconds. Now we get some weird behavior with these small pumps. Generally speaking, oscillation is not good for cooling. For some reason, in this example here, oscillation is helping. I don't know why, but it is. Kind of a mystery to me. It could be because so one thought I have is I can't really read the numbers because of it moving so fast. So one thing it could be doing is increasing the pressure, which there are some cases where an increased pressure will help with cooling. The reason it could be oscillating is we're hitting the pressure limit of the pump. So it's actually just essentially, it looks like it's oscillating, but it's essentially sitting at max pressure. That very well could be the case. That's what it looks like it's doing to me. It looks like it's highly pressurized, and that is exceeding the pressure limit of these small pumps as they have a reduced pressure limit. That's what I think's going on here. But this one's still going. This one should go for a while. This one is the two larges. If we look here, we have the highest liters per second at 181. That does not necessarily mean, though, we're going to get the best cooling. So we'll check back with some results there. I've tested with 3x3 most recently. Now, this is my favorite way to do it presently. I prefer to do it with an RPS off of the drive shaft. You don't hear the electric noise. This electric motor uses barely any electricity because the throttle is at... Why do I keep falling off? Stand up and stay up there, dickhead. The electric motor is only set to 0.185 throttle, so it's very, very low throttle because you don't need a lot of throttle to get good flow rates out of this. This is the max flow rate for this pump. If we went any higher in the throttle, we would not get any better flow rates. 123 liters per second on this setup here is as high as it will go, so there's no point in wasting electricity. So at 0.185, we're only at 6.69 RPS. We're getting our maximum flow rate off of this setup right here. This setup's working really well for me. You know, it's at 123. This uses barely any electricity. This is probably, I would say, one of the best setups for its compact nature, because you don't have to run a long pipe from the drive shaft to the electric motor. The only negative sides of this is you'd have to have a node on your microcontroller that would send the 0.185 number to it, or you'd have to have a constant number somewhere. Not a big deal. This tends to be probably my favorite now because you're not robbing any power from the engine. Now, you don't rob all that much power from the engine using RPS connection. If we look, we have an RPS here of 21.17. We have an output of 11.49. Let's go look at the other one. This one here, as you can see, is using an RPS connection to run the impeller. It's the same except for what's driving it. As you can see, we have a little bit lower of an RPS, and that's because the impeller is putting a very small amount of resistance, about 1 RPS. It's robbing. That is dropping our generation from 11.4 to 10.3. So we are losing, you know, something like about 10% of the power is going to that impeller. So it's I would say reasonably a negligible amount. You know, so we are losing some on that, but we don't have to run the electricity. As long as you keep the electrical value on this, you can get full potential out of that. This one here is pretty useless. This one is, with this small of a motor, as you can see, what's going on here is this is too much load. It will click the starter on now and again. Right now it's actually not doing the starter. What it's doing is the clutch. So if you look, the clutch is feathering in and out because the large impeller requires too much power from the engine. So the engine will get close to stall. It will let up on the clutch so that it doesn't stall. So this one is pretty much a dud test. Theoretically, you could use this impeller pump. Let's see where it gets to. 102. I've done some testing with these large impeller pumps. I see very little reason to use them. I would generally use a small impeller pump over the large impeller pump anyway, and especially with a small engine like this, I see really no point in using a large impeller pump, so I just shut it off. All right, going back here, this is another control. As we can see, it probably shut off. Yep, 218 seconds. So within 1 second of the other one. Now, this is something some people have been suggesting, been testing it out. Putting a T-piece and a small fluid tank. Now, I think what this is probably doing is, from previous testing with some of these tanks, they're starting at, like, say, around 6 atmospheres of pressure. And so what it's probably doing is it's adding more liquid to the system, and it's adding more pressure. And because you're adding both more liquid and more pressure, it is then adding a larger fluid flow. So we are getting weird oscillations. Again, we saw that with the other small pumps. We got oscillations. This one's still running. Let's go ahead to the next one. This here is the larges with the small tank here. If we look at that, we're getting 220 liters per second at 20 atmospheres. If we go over here, we're getting 181 at 10 atmospheres. So again, that's where I'm getting my notion, my hypothesis, that what's happening here is by adding a small fluid tank, you're adding more water. So for example, if this says 220 and this says 181, if you don't have that much fluid in there, you're never going to be able to get up to a higher number. So by adding the fluid, you're actually able to add more liquid, and then you can actually move more liquid. So I think that's part of what's going on. Plus, you're having the added pressure. Again, if we look at the pressure here, we're at 20.3 atmospheres. Over here, we're at 10.3. So you're adding more pressure, and you're adding more liquid, and therefore you're able to get higher flow rates. with by adding this tank. So I think that's what's going on here. That's what's happening. So here's this is the RPS impeller. As you can see here, we're at 130. The other RPS impeller here is, where is it? Where are we at? This one here. Nope, this one here. RPS impeller right here. This one is at 123. So you're adding 7 more liters into this system, which is helping you to, you know, give you more water to move, which theoretically, the higher the flow rate, the better you're going to do. This one, again, dud test. As you can see, it is reaching a higher liter per second amount, but again, the engine's not powerful enough to run this, so we got to shut that off. Here we go. We have the electric pump and the tank. As you can see, 130 makes sense. Again, we've added more water. It is then allowing it to circulate more water. So where would that one be? This one here. So that back one was 130. This one's a 123. Again, all we're really doing is adding pressure and liquid. That gives us more flow, essentially. By teeing it off, it is, I think what it's essentially doing is it's mostly bypassing this. It took a little bit of water, and the pressure between this loop here and this tank have equalized. So I think essentially what's happening is it's going like this, and it's skipping this because this is a positive pressure this way, and it's almost like a door, a gate, and so it can't go in there and it's circulating. If you were to put it through, you would likely lose some efficiency because there's going to be resistance as that liquid goes into the tank and tries to come out of the tank, cause some sort of, you know, IRL and probably somewhat simulating game is some turbulence going through that tank. So that's why a lot of people are teeing these off, I would say, is that is giving you better flow rates. So we have got that one running there. Here's the control over here again. I did not shut this one off. This is our third control. Again, I'm running 3 controls here, so you can see 219, 218, 218. So as you can see, we're getting consistent results throughout those controls. This is something some people have been doing. I have not had good results with this. Some people have. This is a gas tank. Again, I think people's hypothesis has been by increasing the pressure, they're thinking the pressure is what's helping with cooling. As you can see, this one's oscillating. We have increased pressure here. So let's compare the 3 small pumps here. We have 108 degrees. Excuse me, I'm walking here. Let's look at the flow rate, though. Flow rate, you can't really see it on this one. We'll show you on others. We'll have an insane flow rate, but you got to understand that a lot of what the flow rate is gas. And we'll see how it works in game, but in real life, gas is an insulator. It's not a good conductor. Liquids are better conductors. That's why it takes you longer to, for example, cook your French fries in an air fryer than it would to fry them in oil. The oil, being a liquid, is more dense. It is more easily transfers the heat, and so you can fry your French fries in, you know, half the time that you could air fry them. So this one, let's not look at these. These aren't really helpful to us. We'll look at temperature. That's 109. This one is 87. This one here is 99. So this one here is the best on temperature. This one here is the worst. This is not doing us any favors, this air bullshit. All right, so coming over here, we have air bullshit on the larges. All right, let's look at the flow rates. Insane, 3,300 liters per second, right? Seems like, oh, that must be the winner. Again, we have no understanding of how much of that flow rate is liquid and how much of that flow rate is gas. Now, if I were to guess, the amount of liquid going through there is 181 liters. That would be my guess. And then if we go back here, the remainder is going to be all gas. So we're pushing a lot of gas through here, which really IRL, we'll see about what happens in game, but IRL gas should not be transferring much heat. Again, the molecules are too far apart. It's a better insulator than it is a conductor because there's so much empty space between them. Heat is vibration. You need to be able to pass that vibration from one molecule to the next, to the next, to the next. That's conductivity, to pass the heat along. If the molecules are spread far apart, it is harder for the vibration to move from one molecule to the next to the next. So lower densities are going to give you better insulative properties. Higher density is going to give you better conductive properties. That's, of course, IRL. We'll see what it is, how it works in game. So this one, I think, is, like, if you look, we're at huge numbers, but I think we're not getting great results. Let's test it and see. As you can see, 106. This is annoying, too. I have to jump over it. 106. 86. 102. So this one is giving us worse results with an enormous number. Again, you know, people will say, oh, well, somebody said the higher the flow rate, the better. Yeah, the higher the flow rate of a liquid that is a conductor, not a higher flow rate of anything. You know, you need to have a conductor in there, which would be liquids. So as you can see, that's not getting great results. This one here is the impeller pump with the small electric pump. That is running 105. As you can see, wow, huge numbers. 105. Go to the other ones. Jesus Christ, I hate those. That's my least favorite part to walk around. 85. 103. So again, the winner seems to be, for all these, is this little fluid tank is helping. I don't think I would classify this one as a glitch. This one would not be a glitch as far as I would contend, because it makes sense from a physics standpoint. Is you're adding more liquid in there, you're adding more of a conductor in there at a higher pressure that is helping you to be able to, you're essentially, you have more liquid to give the heat to. And then as the liquid goes through the radiator, it is able to dissipate that heat. It is able to radiate that heat. So this, I don't think, is a glitch. I don't think it's some magic bullshit that's happening in the game that's causing it to run better. I think this makes sense. And the numbers make sense. You're adding extra liquid. You're adding an extra 7 liters per second. So when you have the heat, when you have the liquid going through the coolant manifold, the engine is giving its heat to the liquid. The liquid then goes through the radiator and it gives it heat to the atmosphere. All right, so because you're adding, essentially, in this case, 7 extra liters per second, right, over a 60-second period, right, so it'd be 7 times 60, right, you're talking 420 liters. You're essentially increasing an extra 420 liters per minute is able to dissipate more heat. The more, essentially, liquid you're able to give that heat to, the faster you're able to radiate that heat away. So it makes perfect sense. I would not consider this a glitch. This, if this was working, if this was actually giving us better results, I would consider this a glitch, because it doesn't make any sense to have an insulator going through. An insulator is very poor at taking the heat. It wouldn't make any sense to me. It would be a bunch of bullshit as far as I'm concerned. This would make no sense from a real world perspective. So if this did work better, which it does not, it works worse, I would consider this to be a glitch, because it's an unintended consequence. All right, let's quickly check some chat here. Cooling. There, Jackal. How are you, Jackal? Yeah, a lot of vehicles don't need cooling. That's when I keep seeing people like, oh, it's impossible to cool, and then you look at their setups and it's like, yeah, you're asking unrealistic things. You want your 5x5 to go 60 RPS. And you have this really weird cooling system. Again, cooling is really pretty cake easy if you understand the mechanics of it, and if you act in a reasonable and realistic way. If you have a 5x5, which is insanely large, going at insane RPSs, you're going to create insane amounts of heat. If you can have a 5x5 running at 3.5, 4 RPS, and it makes huge amounts of power. Again, force is mass times acceleration. There's 2 ways to get force. You can take a small mass and accelerate it fast, or you can take a large mass and accelerate it slow and get the same amount of force, power, or any combination in between. So you could take a small 1x1 engine and you can move it at insane RPSs. You could take a 1-cylinder 1x1 and move it at 1,000,000 RPS, and it could make the same amount of power as a 1-cylinder 5x5 moving at 2 RPS, because the mass differences, the numbers of course aren't right there, but seawater cooling is pretty. The problem with seawater cooling now is the fluid ports just move so little water. That's the problem. The gearbox facing the engine will increase the propeller RPS. Yes, arrow away trades RPS for torque. Arrow towards trades torque for RPS. All right, so let's see. Some of these are probably getting reasonably close to overheating. We'll see. So as you can see, like this is, we're making pretty good electricity. I'll turn these on to 5.2s at some point. This one's off. That was our test. But let's go through, see if any of these have timed out. Nope, this one's still going. This one is at 99 degrees C. This one's, you know, cooling really well. Again, when you see people saying, oh my God, I can't cool anything in game, again, it's, you can cool things in game. You need to not have ridiculous RPSs. If your engine is overheating, consider getting a bigger engine at a lower RPS. You know, there's also, part of it is load. So for example, if I was just running these engines with nothing loaded onto them, again, you need them to be doing work. You need resistance. That's what the generators are doing. There's a gearbox here. There's generators. That is causing resistance. That takes the place of a generator for power generation, wheels, tank treads, propellers. That's what this is essentially doing, is it's giving it resistance. All right, so this one here is still going. This one I would say is stabilized. This one unlikely will ever overheat. All right, this one here is a little bit higher, which I don't necessarily understand this. I think there is some level of, I wouldn't call it glitching, but I think there is some level of undesirable behavior here. As you can see, it's causing oscillation. My guess would be we are hitting the maximum amount of atmospheres that these pumps will tolerate. And because of that, it's a hard-coded number in the game. I don't know exactly what it is, but when these small pumps hit that number, it says, oh, I can't go any higher, and they effectively shut off for a fraction of a second. And then that atmosphere number drops, you know, down, and then they turn back on. So what I would think is this is like flicking a light switch really quickly. It says, oh no, we hit the maximum allowed by the game. We have to shut off. Okay, we're below, turn back on, off on, off on, off on, off on. And that has given us some unintended consequence where pumps that should be pumping less liters per second are somehow making higher values. That would be my estimation of what's going on here. As you can see, it's very hard to read what's going on. That would be, so I would almost, I wouldn't call this a glitch. I would say the behavior is glitchy. I would say the behavior is unintended on this setup. Now, let's turn on some sounds real quick. That's what this sounds like. Now, part of this is going to be the pumps. The engines are running high enough. You can't really hear the pumps. A lot of people have been complaining about the pumps. I do not use pumps for any of my cooling anymore. None. I don't use them. They're loud. They use a bunch of electricity. They take up a ton of space. My favorite is the small impeller. That's what I would recommend. Like this setup here, we're at 103. All right, for two large pumps. We're at 103. This one, again, this one I would say, I would almost consider this is unintended consequences. I don't think this is running correctly. I think it's doing what I said. It hits its pressure limit. It shuts it off. It then turns it right back on as soon as it dips below the pressure limit. Something in that flicking on and off is causing us to have better cooling. It's not huge, as you can see. I don't think it's game breaking. It's the difference between 99 degrees and 103 degrees. I don't think it's game breaking in any way, shape, or form. It's just, I think it has some unintended consequences there. This tends to be my favorite way. I'm probably going to switch some of them to electrical for space concerns. As you can see, I have to run a RPS pipe up into the impeller. So this takes up a bunch of space. That's one of the things. So especially, I like these impellers for smaller builds. I will probably end up going... Stand by, I got a cough. All right, so I would probably end up switching these out on some of my builds for the small electric motor. The small electric motor does make a little bit of noise. It's pretty quiet, especially if you're running at a very low RPS, which we are. If you're running the electric motor, as I am at 0.185, it is so low of a throttle, it barely uses any electricity. Because you have to understand that in your system here, you have to make electricity for that. So there's a balancing act here. Is it better to make the electricity either with an alternator or with a generator for an electric motor to run the impeller, or is it better just to take the RPS? I think it's a little bit more efficient to make the electricity and run it. We'll do some further testing with that. I'm going to have a cough fest here probably in a second. So let's look at the numbers here. So this one again, remember what's going up. This one actually overheated. Stand by. This one overheated. So this one did overheat, and it's likely because of the increased load on it from the running the RPS. So this one here did overheat. I'll run my other test where this one doesn't overheat. The answer to this problem I already know, which is increase the gear ratio. That will decrease the RPS. So the answer on this one is decrease the RPS, because if you think about it, the heating is a combination of RPS and load. This one was actually running at a little bit lower of an RPS. Let's go to this one's probably still running. As you can see, this one is at 20.06. The rest of them are around 21. Let's find this one, 21. And that's because we have a reduction in RPS because we have an increase in load. So, for example, for this one and that one, the load is we are running an alternator. We're running a gearbox to a generator. We're running an impeller for the supercharging. And we are running an impeller for the cooling. So this one has increased load. Decreased RPS, but increased loads. There's some sort of graph that as you put in load and RPS, there's going to be a balancing act there. This one overheated, likely because even though it was running at a lower RPS, it had an increased load because of that impeller. So this one, again, is useless. This motor is just too small. I see no reason to use this. I'll bring up my other test example of why I don't see any real use other than aesthetics or looks to, which is aesthetics, for running a large impeller pump. I see no reason. I think that could use a balancing pass. Maybe I'll make a video for the devs at some point. This is my new favorite. Here is the small electric pump. As you can see, we're at 97, 103, 99. That one's off. So this is my favorite right now, I would say. As you can see, it's the most compact. We don't have a long pipe going to the drive shaft. We have no resistance from the engine added, so we just have the resistance of the alternator, the impeller pump. That allows us to get up to 21.17. As you can see here, 21. Sorry for the coughing bullshit. This one also is at 21.17 essentially. So this one doesn't, we don't steal any power from our engine with this one. Now, sometimes, I think for the most part, this one's always going to be the most space conscious as well. As you can see, this one is tiny on space, very tiny on space, because it just has that one electric motor. It's the same as putting one elbow pipe on there, so I can't think of any situation where this would take up more space than direct connecting it, where direct connecting would not take up more space. So this one here, I would say, is my new favorite. A big part of that, though, is we're only running at 0.185. We have to generate the electricity to run this motor and those pumps. Bear with me here as I have a coughing fit. So I'd say that's probably going to be, this is probably my favorite, I would say, out of all the testing I've done. You are going to have to generate the electricity, but because the value is so low, we're only at 0.185, we're able to maintain our battery the whole time. We have an alternator clutch value of 1, and we have a generator value, it's running full open, as you can see, full open. So we're making ample electricity with this setup. This would be my preference at the moment. Like, look how compact it is. It's super compact. If we look at this one here, I have to run a pipe all the way up to run it. Sometimes what I'll end up doing is I'll run a pipe down and I'll go to the front axle of a 4x4. So it's still small. It still goes down by a couple blocks. But if you're trying to really keep it compact, I would do a small electric motor for this. As you can see, we're running at 21 RPS. We've been running at 21 RPS here for 1,760, let's say 1,800 seconds. Divided by 60, that's 30 minutes. This has been running at max at max power, no problem. We're at 97 degrees. We're stabilized. We have no issues with this cooling. This is what I would generally probably use. That's the... This is the... Jesus Christ, I can't think of the word. This is the control right here. This one here is at... Oh, if I can see... As you can see, 87 degrees. Yes, this does run cooler. Do I give a shit if my engine runs at 109.99 or if it runs at 87? No. There are some efficiency benefits, potentially. As you can see, 82.5 efficiency. Let's go over there. 81.7. Do I really care? No. I think it's negligible. If you're running with that thin of a margin, like here, let's look at the tanks on these. That one, see, it's going to be off too because I started them at different times, but that is 575.7, and this one here is, if I can ever get to it, 574.9. So this one looks like it's burning a little bit more fuel. Do I really care? No, it's 1 liter. It's less than $1. I don't really care. And especially, like, look at how much space this takes up. So would I do that to save, to gain that much efficiency? No. I also think this is some glitchy behavior, unintended behavior, so I personally wouldn't use that. This one here is at 82.5% efficiency. We're at 86 degrees, nice and cool. Do I really think it's worth it? No. This is that golden example here, the one that I like. With that pump, we're at 85 degrees, as you can see, so we're cooler than this one. We're cooler than this one. Let's look at the efficiency on this one. 81.9. Yep, we get a little bit of an efficiency. Yep, no, actually, we're a little bit more efficient than that one. Let's check this one. 81.7. 81.7. So, yeah, we're a little bit... we're actually better efficiency than that one. So, yeah, we actually have a little bit better fuel efficiency. So, on an apples-to-apples comparison, again, this is my new favorite. I would run... the small impeller with the small electric motor would be my preference. None of these with this tank do anything helpful. As you can see, this one overheated at 960 seconds. As you can see, we are overheated. So this is not helping at all. It's showing us some numbers. And again, this is why you have to do some testing. Is you'll get people say, the higher the flow rate, the better. Yeah, the higher the flow rate of water, the better. And it makes sense. You're able to take more heat from the engine because the heat can be passed to the liquid, which then can be passed to the radiator, which then can radiate the heat. But just because you can blow an absolute shitload of air through there does not mean you're going to get better performance. You're going to get worse performance because an air is an insulator, not a conductor. So this is not the better way, I would say. And this is evidenced by this one is still going. We're at 107 degrees. Again, that's the large pumps. This one here is at 86 degrees. This one here is at 103. So this, I see no merit in this. Also, this is big and cumbersome. So I don't see any point to blowing a bunch of gas in there. I don't see any good use for it. Maybe you could put a one-way valve and blow some gas in there and do what I would consider a glitch. I consider this a glitch. If you did this on a build challenge, I would say that's a glitch. Because, again, gases are not good conductors. They're not good for radiating heat. It is it would be a goof, essentially, that you're doing to get around it. Like, even the air-liquid radiators in game, you're pumping a liquid through the engine, and then you're radiating that with a gas. The gas is not there to move the heat from the metal of the engine, which, of course, a solid is most dense, best conductor, to a liquid, which would be the second best. And then you're taking a gas and you're blowing it away, essentially, by stripping it from generally a metal pipe. So I would say this is pretty much, I would see no merit in this. These are all running hotter. I see no merit in that whatsoever. So let's go ahead and bring this back. I'll quickly show you my example. Let's save this real fast. Try to see if I can recover from my coughing fit. All right, let's bring up my, let's see, pump test. All right, let me quickly read some chat. How's it going there, Rasmus? Good to see you, Rasmus. How's it going there, Turtle Man? How are you? All right, so this one I need infinite electricity on for. So I did this test a while ago. This one is, again, you'll get this all the time. I see this especially on official. Somebody says, what's the best way to move air? Large pump. Okay. Here's a small pump. Turned it on. Here's a large pump. Turned it on. $5.99. $5.99. So these pump the same amount of air. $5.99. $5.99. All right, so again, you got to be cautious when you see some of these comments from people on anywhere, frankly. But, you know, did they do their testing, or are they just regurgitating something somebody else said? That's always important. Not, you know, I can be accused of this sometimes too, is I hear something works, and I might not do 100% of the testing that I should myself. It's always wise to make sure you actually see the tests and verify them. So right now, infinite electricity is off. All right, so let's look at these now. So when somebody says the large pump is best for moving gases, all right, we're at 99.97. We are at 99.96. All right, really, I should probably have these start at the same time. I'm not going to wait the entire time. You see the electrical usage is probably pretty negligible between the two of them, so it's not like you're using an insane amount of extra electricity, I would say, to run the large one. They might even be at the same rate. But what's the point? $5.99 to $5.99. There's no point, as far as I'm concerned, in running the large pump in this case, because as soon as you hit about $5.99, that looks like the hard in-game maximum liter per second for gases is $5.99. That's what it looks like to me. And so because of that, there's no point. Why would you bother pumping with a large pump when you get the same amount of liters per second with a small one? This one is much more space conscious. I know a lot of people don't care about this in game, but they probably should. Is cost of things. This costs $200. This costs $100. So you're spending double the money. You're more than doubling the weight. This one weighs 4. This one weighs 10. This one takes up a lot more space. This one takes up less space. So if you're building a small craft and you're putting a large pump because somebody on somewhere said that it's best for moving for they'll say, oh, use a large pump for your supercharging. Why? You're going to get $5.99 off the large. You're going to get $5.99 off the small, as far as my testing has shown. And you're going to be adding extra weight, which is, ideally you don't want to be adding extra weight. That you're going to have to balance that might cause buoyancy problems. And you're spending twice the money. That's part of the problem with the game is a lot of people don't play career. They just do infinite money, and so they don't give a shit about what these things cost. So that's part of it, too, is to consider cost and space. Let's go ahead and we'll put some batteries everywhere. Let's actually hook all these up independently. I think that's a good thing to do, just to make sure that we're actually seeing if there's anything that's like really bad for electrical use. That way we know if something is really just heinous on the electrical front. That we know that is a consideration that you need to keep in mind, is that this uses an absolute ton of electricity. And because it uses a ton of electricity, it might not be the best option, So let's go ahead and spawn this. The other thing is sound. So let's turn on the sound. Again, they added sound to these pumps. I think it was the right thing. I think they just made them louder than they should necessarily. But I think it's important to add pump sound. Pumps have sound. It's a consequence. You need to make decisions whether or not you're going to use it. So that's the noise this one makes. Again, I don't think this one uses an excessive amount of electricity compared to this one. I think they're pretty reasonable and the same, but there's no point. This one costs twice as much, takes up much more space, is heavier by more than double. Why not just use this? Now, if we look over here, so essentially what I'm setting up here is we don't want to spin this impeller faster than we need to. Again, there's no point in spinning this impeller faster than we need to. What I actually probably should do is... This test is a little bit flawed. Let's just do this, I would say. What I'm doing is I'm putting this keypad through a microcontroller, which is then trying to set the RPS and running by a PID. I don't think I need to do all that. Let's just do this. Let's go right there to the electric pumps, and we'll manually set it in. I think it's, to a certain extent, it was doing a different test for me before, where I was testing what RPS gave you max value. I think that's, was a good test, but I don't think I really need to do it anymore. We learned the information from that. So let's just set this up this way. So again, $5.99, $5.99. Now, if this one uses an insane amount of electricity, you could say that these have merit. This is much quieter. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll turn this on. So before we had about a 0.185. All right, so we're at $5.99 at 0.185. Let's go down to 0.18. 0.18. Still good. 0.17. Still good. 0.16. Still good. We'll do 0.12. We'll try to get around it here. Still good. 0.1. Still good. Make sure it has time to slow down here. All right. 0.08. Still good. 0.05. Still good. Let's make sure it has time to slow down. Still slowing down. I think I did it before, but I don't remember what it was. Still looking good. So you see this one barely has to turn at all to make this 0.009. I think we can even go lower than that. 0.0045. There we go. All right, so 0.007. All right, so we're somewhere around there. 0.0085. All right, so as you can see, right around there. So around there is where we need to be. Let's look at the battery. 86.99. So what we'll do is we'll start this test again with, let's get this exactly where it needs to be. Let's go 0.008. Make sure that's still $5.99. Yep. 0.0078. I want to get this as low as possible. All right. 0.0079. So 0.008 I would say is the lowest. All right, so let's do this test again. Because we got to start from the beginning because I had really high values here, so likely we used more electricity than we needed to. All right, so 0.008. All right, so now that's starting at the lowest value there that it needs to be to do $5.99. All right, let's look at the battery, 0.9988, 0.999. So this one is using more electricity than these. So if you're having electrical problems, that would be something to take into consideration. Is this could be a better system for your build if you do not have excess electricity. Now, as you saw with the other example, it took barely any electricity at all from those motors. Just using the alternator, one alternator, I could make plenty of electricity to run this setup. So I would still personally prefer this, and one of the reasons is this. That's how quiet this is. You get very little to almost no electric noise out of the motor. We get a little bit of gas noise out of the impeller. I would much prefer this on my build. We do burn a little bit more, or use a little bit more electricity, but again, it doesn't really matter because a small alternator is going to completely fix that. So what was the number in this? 0.008. So here, 0.008. Again, we're doing $5.99. This one here is $5.99. Now, this one has potentially increased resistance. Again, There's no point, as far as I'm concerned, in using this large impeller for moving gases. Again, you'll see people, oh, I like to use it for supercharging. Why? If $5.99 is the limit, and you get $5.99 with these three, why would you use this? Doesn't make sense to me. This takes a lot more RPS than those other ones. This one here is 2 electric motors so that we can get more power into this. We're now into the liquid here, so this is moving liquids. To explain this really quick, we have a tank rather. The liquid will be pumped up and it will just circulate it. So we're trying to get high flow rates. That's, again, for cooling testing, high flow rate. We're trying to move as much liquid as quickly as possible. This is just letting the gas out. So we're not moving gas, and the whole reason we don't want to move gas superfluously, because then we're reading the gas values, not the liquid values. So by letting the gas vent out, we're testing actually what the liquid is doing. All right, so here, 87 liters per second. Okay, you can see what the electric's doing. Not a ton of electrical usage. 87 liters per second. As you can see, on one end we have 33.1 atmospheres. So likely we're hitting a hard limit in the game of how many atmospheres this small pump can tolerate. All right, let's go over here. Same setup here, just with a large pump. As you can see, 217. Why is this producing more? Because if you look, the atmospheric pressure can be higher. The limit on the large pumps is 60 atmospheres. So likely we hit the atmospheric pressure limit, the pressure limit on the smaller pump. The larger pump, we've not hit it yet, and so we can get higher flow rates off of this. Here we go. Let's go. This number is going to be different now. I think 0.185 was where we had it on the cooling tests. As you can see, we get very high flow rates here on this. So in a very compact thing, all we need is a small electric motor and impeller. We're moving 253. Let's see if I can increase that speed a little bit. Yep, so we're able to go up a little bit higher. Let's go to 0.5 just for the shits and giggles. All right, so there we are maxed out. We're at 295 liters per second. If we look at this pump here, we're at 217. Jesus Christ, I hit the home key and I didn't notice. All right, we are going to probably likely use more electricity. As you can see, 75%, 99. So we do use more electricity. We probably could dial this down a little bit. Let's try 0.3. So 295. Let's see where it gets to. I believe it's like 6.6 something is our max rate. All right, on this one it's 7 point something. So let's go 0.35. That will save us a little bit of electricity. Yeah, there we go. So somewhere in there. So between 0.3 and 0.35, this gets us the better flow rates, but it uses more electricity. So if you're having electrical problems, you're not producing enough electricity. If you're producing in excess of electricity, you may want to use this. You may also want to direct drive this. You could do a diesel pump if you wanted. Over here, again, large impeller. We have 2 motors just for extra torque. What was that? 0.35. Let's just run 0.35 here. 0.35. I'm running on 2 electric motors. There's 217. All right. We should be using more battery by quite a bit on this one. Let's go way up. Let's just do a full 1. Doesn't make much sense to me why this impeller has worse performance. The only thing I can think of is look at the RPS value. The RPS value is not as high. We might need more powerful motors. Again, I see very limited to any use other than aesthetics to use the large impeller pump, frankly, ever. I think the devs should probably balance this, give us better flow rates on this. You know, it requires a lot of torque to run this. I would just personally, I would go with a small impeller on most cases. The electrical generation for this, again, is very, very small. If you remember, we had 0.18 on this, so probably double the electrical usage. It took a small alternator. That's all it took to keep this powered. So I think the electricity is pretty negligible. You know, you could make the argument, oh my God, look, the electrical usage is huge compared to the other one. But yeah, but you should be able to produce a lot of electricity. If you are using batteries to pump something, you might want to use the one that's more electrically efficient. But if you have a good power generator in there, even like a 2-cylinder motor, a 1-cylinder motor, you should be able to easily be able to make enough electricity to pump this. And I'm not sure what direct drive. If we look, the RPS value on this is 3. So literally you could have a modular engine idling to produce this much. You could probably have a 1-cylinder modular engine at idle producing enough, pretty good values on this. So just some things to consider with that as well. Let's save this, actually. Save with the new stuff here. All right, let's read some chat here. How's it going there? Anton, how are you? Good to see you. Yes, large means higher pressure, not flow rate. Yep. You know, a lot of people just think that bigger, better. That is like not generally the case, you know, and that's where a lot of people are like, oh, just use a large pump, you'll get better supercharging. No, you got to look at the numbers. 599 is 599 is 599. If you're at the maximum amount of air you can blow into that engine, you're good. You know, you're done. There's no point in going any higher than that. And then the air manifold can only take in so much air. It can only take in so much air. There's a restriction in the flow into the air manifold. So even blowing 599 into your engine is like, you don't need it. You're not going to use it. And then again, it's an air-fuel ratio, right? It's essentially 2 parts air to 1 part water. If you're pushing 599 liters of air into your engine, right? Let's say 600 for ease of sake. That means you need to push 300 liters per second of diesel into your engine. That's going to be costing you $600 per second. You know, so why would you even want that? So it's like little things like that people don't think about. But I said hi to Anton. Hello, hello. Doing well, Turtleman? If you pump air into a tank above 11 atmospheres, the large pump is required or more pumps. Yes. Yes. You reach the air pressure limit on the small pump. Yes, I did say that. Yeah, PIDs always take just the tuning. Once you get good at tuning, it doesn't take that long. Sometimes you get a build, like the orange helicopter was taking me forever to tune up. That was a pain in the ass. How's it going there, Turtle Unit? If you're pumping long distances, let's see. We can do a super fast test with that. Let's just grab the base plate. Again, at the end of the day, I would just test it yourself as well. Let's see. Get symmetry on. Now, of course, I put that off one. You know, for example, Tethys, I have no pumps on exhaust, none. You know, I have just a small impeller pulling air in, I believe, for Tethys. That's it. Triton, I think I do pump out some exhaust, but that I haven't touched Triton since a lot of the pressure stuff. Let's see, what do I want to put for the amp? You know, the electric motors do use more electricity. That's something you need to consider when you're doing these things. But, again, like I said, as far as I'm concerned, it's a negligible amount of electricity. If you had a really tiny build, you might not want to do it. But, like, other than that, I think the electrical usage on these small electric motors, because you're not running it at a full 1. You're running it at, that's backwards. You're not running it at a 1. You know, you see how I'm running at very reduced numbers, like, for the liquid, it was a 0.35, you know, so it's a very reduced number. You know, if you're running at 1, you're going to be using a lot of electricity. If you're running at a really reduced number, you're not running that much electricity, and so you're not necessarily getting too much benefit, you know, out of doing, oh, well, that uses less electricity. Yeah, but do you have an excess of electricity? You know, is it a negligible amount of power coming off of your engine to produce that electricity? So those are some of the questions you'd want to ask. Trying to get these the same distance. There we go. So what was the question about length of pipe? Let's see. I don't think I don't pump in most of my furnaces. I don't believe. I don't pump air in my furnaces generally. Let's do this instead. Run that differently. Let's see. Batteries on these yet? I don't. I'm just doing infinite electricity. The power is negligible on this. Let's see. What do I do? I'm gonna add an extra row to this. Just do a 1 on there. I'm not going to consider electricity. All right. Let's see what the time differential is for pumping over distance. As long as you're able to move the, well, see, the thing is, the the small pump and the large pump, the real differential with those is going to be mainly, I would say, the pressure at this point. And so as long as you don't exceed the pressure cap on the small pump, they're probably going to be pretty reasonably close, I'd say. Let's see, so you're trying to pump, let me see, just read real quick. So you're doing air for the furnace. What I did in my submarine, which worked really well, was I did storage tanks. So when I go to the surface, I fill storage tanks at high pressure. So I pressurize some storage tanks at 60 atmospheres. Then I do a PID-controlled valve, and it fills the engine room with 1 atmosphere of air. And then and that also leaks into the other rooms in the ship. So the stored air puts air in the entire ship, and it maintains the entire ship at 1 atmosphere. The engine then consumes the air in the hull. And then the people also consume the air in the hull. The system automatically makes sure there's always 1 atmosphere of air in the hull, so nobody gets pressure, so nobody suffocates. The engine doesn't suffocate, the people don't suffocate. And then when it surfaces again, it will automatically take in air. That's what I do. That would be my preferred method for it. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I was actually thinking of the same thing myself, CG, was one thing I really wanted to add was, on Tethys, was I wanted to add a linear track launch system, kind of like a catapult, to catapult some sort of aircraft into the air. The problem then becomes, how do you recover it? And so it'd have to be something that would just like plop into the ocean or something. And so I think it would be kind of cool, especially with this new personal watercraft that I made yesterday. It was with the personal watercraft I made yesterday. Jesus Christ, if I could think and speak, it flies very straight when it's in the air, and so I would be able to catapult it into the water for like a quick rescue, and then just crane it back on. So that was something I was thinking of too. How's it going there, Trippa? How are you? Oh, that's funny, yeah. Yeah, you have to just keep poking around, see if you can diagnose the problem. This is taking too long, so I'm thinking... What is it doing? Okay, so this one is maxed on pressure. Look at the pressure. I have the liquid pressurized to 122. Did I not drag all these down? All right, this one here is at 47. So that one stopped because it reached it. Let's see if these are empty. See, these are all still going. Did I accidentally not drag them to empty? Okay, so this one's empty. This one has no diesel in it. So what happened? That's fucking weird. Let me look at this really quick. This doesn't make sense. The pipes are not spawning with liquid. That's 0. I don't know why. This doesn't make sense. I'd have to check. Let me check the quantities on these. This doesn't make sense. Because this one here has 146 liters of diesel, which is now pouring into the pipe, which makes sense. That's fine. I wonder if the pipe... you know what I bet it is? The pipe's probably spawning with diesel. I bet you that's what's happening. So let's do this. We need to run a better test because this isn't going to be accurate. So what we'll do is do this. We'll go like that. We'll go ahead and we'll copy this and we'll push these out. We'll double the reservoir tanks. Because what's happening likely is when this spawns in, I think what's happening is this tank is filling with fuel and it's also filling with the pipe. Because what's probably happening is the it starts to fill the... probably the way the game's doing this is it says, hey, fill the tank until the tank is at the max pressure or it's full. And what's happening is, as it's starting to fill the tank in a fraction of a second, it fills the pipe, and then the pressure goes down. It keeps filling, keeps filling, keeps filling. Then the pipe fills with diesel. As what I'm probably thinking is happening. We can actually probably test this hypothesis really quickly here. Let's see. Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking, is it's filling the pipe with it, but then it should be able to still have equal length of pipe on that side. But now we have double reservoir tanks, so that should fix this. Results don't make sense to me if that's not what's going on. Because theoretically, it should have an equal movement across. So I don't know what the deal is. We'll see in a second here. So, oh, Jesus Christ. Sit still there, guy. All right, so as you can see here, we're going up to... So this will continue to climb in liters per second until it hits the cap of 11. 11.45. Sometimes we get higher numbers. I think what it is back pressure on there. I don't think it's actually the pump is pumping that much. Turn these on. That's why I like a timer system here, is it will stop automatically. You can go AFK, you can do a bunch of other shit. That's why I always use the timers. Yeah, I just have to root around your build, see what it is. It could be something simple you're not seeing, too. That happens to me all the time, is you think it's one thing, and then after doing some testing, you see it's actually something else, or, you know, I don't know what could be causing it. Why is this still going? Let's see, are we full over here? That's like 160 and change. Let's see. Okay, I don't know why this is not shutting off. This should shut off if it's less than 1. Let me look at this logic real quick. We'll get off this. Don't know why I got on this tangent. If the fluid is less than 1 liter, so that will trigger that. That should shut this off. Let's just do 10, because I want to get off this test. Let that run for a second, see what it does. All right, 11 seconds to empty this one. 10, 12. So, I don't know what the deal is with that small pump doing faster, but it's the pressure, it really is. So I don't think there's a... I think this is probably a fraction of a fraction at that point. I would say these are fraction off. That's fine. My hypothesis, again, is that this one pumps at the same rate as that one. The difference is the pressure. So, like, if you were to try to push... Here, see if I have a pressure test done already. Let's see. I had another pump test I was working on. Might be under pressure. Oh, I had a test. I had a pressure test. God damn, where did... I can't tell. It was recent, too, but I make a lot of shit, so it's tough to find it. I had it showing the best methods of pumping. I'm going to do a pumping tutorial. I did a pumping tutorial like the day before the pressurization major update for the very purposes of showing what it was before, and then you'll see what it is now. And so I have yet to do the... Because I'm waiting for them to finalize it. I think we're pretty much finalized. They may come back and do a balancing pass, which is perfectly fine and reasonable. And people say, I keep changing stuff. Yes, they're changing stuff to try to make things better. Friggin' relax. Learn to do things differently, you know? Like, oh my God, people lose their minds with this stuff sometimes. You know, I get it. people like don't have a lot of mechanical knowledge or experience, and this is tough for them, and something changes. But again, like flipping out is not the right thing because nobody wants to flip you. Nobody wants to help you if you're flipping out. It's like it's not good to get help when you're being all excited because you know you end up saying some jerky shit, and the person helping you out is like, "Why am I helping this person out? Spending my time to help this person out when they're being a jerk?" So like you know the best thing to do is go cool off and then go ask for help. It's because it's like a lot of people they ask for help and then they're a jerk to the person helping them, and it's a quick way to get the person to be like, "All right, see you later." You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's like you can't be a jerk to the person trying to help you and then expect them to keep helping you. You know. I don't know where this test went. I had a test with all the pumping. What I found, I might have actually copied over by accident. Hopefully not. What I found was you want to move the air with the liquid, and the reason is this. Let's see if I can get a picture going here. I think I deleted it over by accident. But essentially, here, let's go to Paint. Kind of show you what my thought process is on this. All right, so this is kind of my thought process with what's going on here with some of the setup is, let's say you have, I'll just do squares here. All right, so you have a tank, right? And you want to pump from A to B, right? And so if you put on a liquid relief valve, all it's doing, like literally all it is a valve that only allows liquid through. That's it. It's a valve that only allows liquid through. That's it. And the whole thing with it being a relief valve is all it does is it equalizes the pressure. If this is at let's get a paint. If this is at 1 atmosphere and this is at 0.5, right? You know, areas of high pressure want to go to low pressure. That's your delta V, right? So delta V. So the 1 atmosphere is going to want to go to here, right? And so you take 1 plus 0.5, right? 1.5. So now you'd have 0.75, 0.75 essentially, right? So that would be your resultant thing. It's just going to equalize the pressure. There's nothing magic about that. It's only allowing liquid through and it equalizes. That's it. So that's the relief valve portion of it. So what happens is if you're trying to, so you have a fluid port here. So there's your fluid port. So if you just push through liquid, right? So let's say you have a pump here. That's a B. A pump, right? So there's your pump, whatever it is. If you have a pump right here, right, and it only allows liquid through, up until this point right here, it's going to be sucking both air and liquid through, right? So it's air and liquid. And then after here, it's just liquid. The problem becomes you've now got 60 atmospheres of air that gets stuck here. So you keep sucking air, sucking air, sucking air, sucking air, sucking air, sucking air until you get 60 atmospheres of air there. Well, that means that no more liquid can go because you've hit the limit in the game of 60 atmospheres. So what's going to happen is eventually this number might dip down to 59.99 repeating, right? And so that's going to let out 0.0000001 liters of liquid through. So a tiny bit of liquid is going to trickle through. And that's why you get this slowdown. So when you're pumping your systems, I can't believe I lost this pump test. It was a really well set up pump test too. How did I delete that pump test is what I want to know. Yeah, that sucks. It was a really good pump test too. So I will do like some real quick example here, but so I found this to be the best pump system is take a tank, all right, empty tank on this side. Now, again, the higher the pressure you can go, right? The higher the pressure, right? So if you, I'll make the quick example here. So let's go like that. Let's go like this and this one. All right, so you want to move the air. We'll just make it real quick. It's got utility. So let's just do a liquid here. So we're not going to move the gas. We're just going to move the liquid. Again, some people are making some false assumptions here. For example, they think that, you know, pressurizing this tank is helping. It can. You can help push it through, but you need to move the air with it. Let's see, air manifold. Let's do it the toggle on there too. I should have brought the friggin' timer. Let's quickly save this. Let's see, backups right there. The hell is it right there? All right, so we'll use a pump timer in here again. It'll do the same thing, where it just essentially shuts itself off when we're when it tells us how long it takes to move it from one place to the other. Is all it's doing. Okay, there we go. That way we don't have to guess. We don't have to interpret. We just look at the numbers. Okay, there we go. All plugged they are. Okay. We're just around infinite electricity. So like on this one, we'll knock off this pump here. That one's just got a fluid port on there. At this one, we'll knock off this pump here. That one's on that one. That one's, and then we'll do. Oh shit! Don't do that. We don't bother with 2 on that, doesn't really matter. Alright, then we'll grab the whole set. Alright, then we want to get rid of all these. Those were liquid relief valves. Alright, so that's going to show why you don't want to restrict the flow, because you can eventually hit 60 atmospheres on those. Alright, let's go ahead and start this real quick. Infinite electricity's on. Yep, alright. This one's going to leak. I gotta fix all these. They're going to leak backwards. That one will leak. This one will leak. Alright. Alright, we'll run all these. So this one should end the test soon. So you see we haven't hit 60 yet. So this might stop the test before we hit 60. Now, look, we're moving a barely any liquid. And this is what a lot of people's complaints is, oh my god, I'm trying to pump, and I'm moving barely any liquid. And they'll tell you, oh, well, inject gas in there, it helps. It's not really the fact you're injecting gas. What's happening is the gas needs to be able to move through with it, because you will hit 60 atmospheres, and then the gas is stuck right here. And because the gas is stuck right here at 60 atmospheres, you cannot go above 60 atmospheres. So every once in a while, we get 0.08, fluctuation, and that allows a tiny, 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 tiny little bit of liquid past the gas plug. Think of it as a gas plug. And so you need to move that gas. You can't block it with this. So you get a blockage of gas. You need to move that gas through so it doesn't block it. So you can see, still going here. We're still, what the fuck is this not shutting off? Ugh. Why is this not shutting off? Oh, because I didn't change the number on that one. Okay. Min fluid, we'll make these 10. They should be 10. One's too small. Make them 10. That's the problem. Okay. We'll do that. So that should shut off when it gets below 10. But you notice it hits 60 atmospheres, and the problem then becomes you can't get the liquid past the gas. So, of course, it's going to slow down to nothing, because it's like putting a gas stopper in the way. So on this model, there's no gas, there's no liquid relief valve there, so it allows the gas to come from here and go through and get out. The gas has no place to get blocked. It takes the gas through, and it says, see you later, gas, don't block my flow. This over here will block the flow at some point. We'll hit 60 atmospheres, as you can see, and because of that, it greatly slows this down. It's greatly slowing us down to 0.23 liters per second. See how slowly the liquid's moving. Now, this should stop eventually here. Why the fuck is this not stopping? You know what I think it is? I think there's an internal number in here that's different than what I'm reading, because that's when I moved it to 10, I can get it to stop. We'll see if it stops eventually. Because it's being annoying that it should have stopped it once the diesel got below whatever number I set, but it's not. I'll have to manually read this. It's going to be a pain in the balls. But anyways, you can see the point. The point being that I got to fix the test that's going to do this, but the point being that you need to... Okay, this one stopped. This one stopped here at 19 seconds. I have no fucking clue what this one's doing because of it. I got to see why these aren't stopping at 10. I got to look at my logic. Yeah. I don't understand why these aren't stopping here. This is being weird. We got tank contents, fluid. So let's see. Maybe it's... Yeah, we don't have that. I don't know why. Let's read the dial. I want to see what these tank contents is doing, because the tank contents should be... maybe it's not reading correctly. Because once it goes below... I had it as 1, but once it goes below 10, it should shut the thing off. I'll check my logic. That's weird to me that I wonder if it's, you know what it is? I bet it's reading the gas as well. That's probably what's fucking this up. I don't know why it's doing that. See how it's reading, it's going up? It's because it's reading the gas in there. That's funky. That is funky. Yeah, it says the number of fluid, and it doesn't give me the ability to read just the gas, which is obnoxious. So it's going to fuck up my test. I'll do it manually, because I can't get a diesel read on that. That's screwing up my test here. Let's just do it manually, and I'll read each one. It will suck, but I'll read each one. So when it gets below 1 liter, I will check the time. Because that's what's fucking up my test, is it's reading the gas in there. Which they should put a composite on there so I can read the info I want. So you can see it's probably getting close to 60. Once it hits 60, we get a massive slowdown. Makes perfect sense. People keep saying, oh, this doesn't make any sense. It does. You're blocking it with the air. Because the air hits 60, the game says, up 60 is as much as I can do. I have to stop. So once that gets below 1, we'll read it. And that is 42 seconds. All right, let's check this one. So I got to manually do this because I can't read the diesel. So 42 seconds on that one. So this one is running one pump and just letting the air through. So again, if this gets blocked out at 60, which it's not, oh, so 20 seconds on this one. This one actually shuts off. So probably the reason why this one actually shuts off and behaves itself is I'm not pressurizing this tank. So this one, as you can see, is taking less time. So people who are saying, oh, pressurize your tank, that might work fine as long as you're not blocking this, because all you're doing is blocking this faster. So it still could work, but you want to make sure you're not blocking it with filling it. So this one here has, what's the difference here? This one has no pump here, So the likelihood is this one is probably going to be worse than the second one, in my guess, because we're going to hit 60 atmospheres very quickly. The first example, you're reducing the pressure through here, the liquid pressure, to help it not hit 60. This one is probably going to, I would say, is definitely going to perform worse than this one. See, we're already hitting 60 now, so we're going to slow down. 42 on the first one, 20 on the second one. 35. So, yep. Let's go this one. This one is a small. This one's going to hit 11, and it's going to hit a brick wall. So, as you can see, this one already hit a brick wall. Fuck, that's not hooked up. Ugh, test. Gotta keep redoing these because I keep forgetting to hook things up. The reason it's so frustrating is I had a test all set up already. That did all of this, and now I have to redo it. That's what's frustrating me, is I already did all this. So I'm having to redo it, which is kind of gross, because I can't find it. So we're going to probably hit the pressure limit is lower on this. I think it's like 11 point something. So you can see it's starting to reduce right there at 11.1. And see, we're stuck. The diesel can't go anywhere because the pump can only go to 11 something, and it's all blocked right here because the air is all plugged up right here. So you've caused an air plug right here. So this one may never empty. All right, so let's look at these. These here have no liquid because you see this on some of people's builds. All right, so this one is allowing the high pressure air to go all the way through to help move the liquid, and we're already done. I have to actually restart that test because it happened so fast. And this is what I found in my testing earlier was by moving the liquid through the air, you're able to get the liquid to push through with the air, and the air can escape, the liquid stays. And so that, in my testing before, worked best. Like, this is going to be super fast. It's about 3 seconds. It actually shut off on this one, too. 3 seconds. This one here is, we'll shut this off. It's at 3 seconds. This one here is just the one pump. Now, we shouldn't have any problems. The reason why that one worked better on the other one was because we didn't blow so much air in here, it blocked that liquid valve. So some people might say, oh, it doesn't make sense. The one with the one over there was faster and the one with the one over here is slower. No, the reason the one over there with one was faster was because it didn't block that liquid port. This one doesn't have a liquid port to block. So let's see what it does. See if it actually stops. And that took 12 seconds. Makes perfect sense, right? Again, people will draw false conclusions where they're like, oh, that one was faster. Why is it slower over here? Game broken. No. Over there, I'll show you exactly what's happening over here. Over here, what's happening is this is blowing copious amounts of air into this tank, increasing the pressure. As soon as the pressure in here hits 60 atmospheres, the air blocks the liquid from going through this relief valve. Over here, there is no pump blowing air into the tank. The tank never gets higher than atmospheric pressure. It actually probably gets a little bit lower than atmospheric pressure because this pump, well, actually, no, it won't. This one will maintain atmospheric pressure. So this stays at atmospheric pressure, so 1 atmosphere. So because this stays at around, say, 1 atmosphere of air pressure, it never blocks this port. So that's why this one was faster than this one. This one over here is faster than this one because this one is blowing high-pressure air all the way through with the liquid. It's helping push it all through. So that's why this one is much faster than this one. This one here is what? This one is 1 pump on the leading edge. This one here should be slower than this one. Now, because the timer is going to work on this. The reason the timer didn't work was because it was pressurizing this tank, which was reading on the dial as greater than whatever number I set. And so it wouldn't stop the timer. Now, this one here, as you can see, it's probably not going to pressurize it because it can blow right through. So it probably won't keep too much air pressure in there. We'll see. What is the average value for the alternator p-value? Usually it can be up in the thousands. Like I'll run 1,000, 2,500. It's usually very high. You know, if you're just using the p-value. All right, so if you look at this one is, look at the diesel value going up. All right, the diesel value is not likely going up. What's likely happening is we're pumping air in here. And so the air is going to cause it so that this does not go down in value. So you need to be able to remove the air. So we're pushing a ton of air pressure in here. Look at the pressure, 59.52. We've essentially blocked this system up with air. And because of that, the diesel cannot freely move through the pipe because it's full of air. All right. So you need to also carry that air. So this system, a push air system, is not going to work well for you. As you can see. This one here is just small stuff. Small pipes. This one should be reasonably fast, maybe. If I friggin' plug them in. I copied it so they're not plugged in. So it makes sense. By pushing the air pressure and allowing the... So, like, if this pushes through 10 atmospheres of air, this will also pull 10 atmospheres of air. This will push some of the diesel through, but it will also pull some of the diesel through. You don't get any blockages with this setup. You are going to get no blockages with this setup, but it's just slower because it only has 1 pump. This one is going to cause blockages. This one here should push reasonably fast through. This one should have similar results to the first one, but we're going to hit 11 atmospheres or more, and it's going to stutter. As you can see, it's stuttering. It was stuttering. And so we're pretty good there. So that was about 20 seconds. So your best bet, again, is you want high pressure, so I would use an impeller, which can go up to 60, or I would use a large pump, which can go up to 60. And you got to make sure your air is cleared through. This one here never builds up air pressure, but it's only relying on 1 pump. So we theoretically could do something like this. Let's grab, see if I can grab it without it being a pain in the ass. All right, let's grab this, copy that, and what we'll test is this. Let's see what we can do here. Let's grab this. Let's cut that. Again, making a bunch of convoluted pipes is generally not a good idea, but as long as the pumps can keep up with it, could give us some better results. We'll see. You know, you start getting into problems where, you know, you're trying to push liquid against liquid, and it might start blocking itself, and it's going to increase the pressure as the liquid can't go anywhere. You're going to run into issues where, you know, the pipes are only a certain diameter, and the pipes can only hold a certain amount of liquid, and the liquid should be non-compressible for the most part. It can compress in game for, I game reasons, but for the most part, you know, you can only fit so much liquid in the pipe, and so that's something to consider as well. So you're going to reach a maximum at some point where the pipes are the limiting factors. You need more pipes. So this is now what it's trying to do is it's trying to put it through. Now, likely there's a restriction here as the diesel comes smashing into the diesel here. It's probably slowing it down. So something like this, which seems like, oh, this should be faster, is going to be slower because you're actively smashing diesel into one another. Took 14 seconds. So again, like the very basic notion some people have of, actually, we need to do a pusher pump to get a, let's see what the difference is on that. 3 seconds on this one, again. This one here is 14 seconds. Let's see what this one is. This is more of a, this test more replicates this test. 12 seconds. So this one here is because it's 14 seconds. This one's 12 seconds. Oh my God, it doesn't make any sense. We have 2 pumps. It should be faster than the 1 pump. No. You have liquid coming through here. It is then having to split from here and here. So let's say this takes the maximum amount of liquid. Let's say it's, oh, I don't know, 1 liter in this pipe section. It then splits it here into 0.5, 0.5. And then, so all you're doing is you're splitting the liquid. So here, it can only take 0.5. Here, 1. Here, it splits it to 0.5, 0.5. So you have a certain pressure. You're now doubling the volume. If you double the volume, you half the pressure. So, for example, you are, if this is at 60 atmospheres, you've now split it to 30-30. Now it comes out here at 30-30. It then comes into the T section, and it's now back to 60, right? You've halved the volume, you double the pressure. Pretty basic, right, hydraulics. And so in order to make this work, theoretically what you'd have to do is you'd have to have a pipe segment that could tolerate 120 atmospheres of pressure. So if you could push 120 atmospheres into this pipe here, it would then split into 60, 60. It would come out 60, 60, then it would go back to 120. This would be faster if we could go up to 120 in the pipes. Likely, I would say it's probably limited to 60 in the pipes. So that would be the only real use case. I think that would be beneficial. You know, now, if you took a custom tank and you did, so I don't think you should be doing them in combined like this, but let's say you took a tank, custom tank, and you had 5 fluid ports, and you had 5 motors, and you had 5 outputs. Let's say 3, because most of the places actually have 3. You should be able to get more out of that, because each independent segment is able to push 60 atmospheres of liquid at a time. So that should work faster. Well, like, you know, do you guys understand why this doesn't work and why it shouldn't work? Yeah. So some of that stuff people say, oh, it doesn't make any sense. It does make sense. It's just they don't necessarily understand the mechanics behind it. Let's see, pump test right there. Let's do that one. All right, let's catch up on a little chat here. Then I'll go take a quick coffee break. Yeah, I agree with Turtleman. Like Turtleman says, when the gas update came out, I calmly waited a few days and then adjusted all my builds, and it was a fun experience since I also learned a lot more. Yeah, that's where, you know, some of the disgruntled player base, they don't give a shit about the engineering of it. They don't see this as an engineering and building game, which is what it is. Delta has confirmed this multiple times during Q&As. That's what he wants the game to be. He's talked about how I don't want to add a mechanic that doesn't add any new and interesting mechanics and engineering to the game. He's said this multiple times. That's why, like, he doesn't want to just add a hydrogen engine where, like, you take a modular engine, you just pump hydrogen into it. That doesn't really add anything to the game. Now, if there's a different type of engine that only ran, like, for example, a hydrogen fuel cell that you had to build a fuel cell to make work, that would be cool and interesting. A lot of people don't see the game as that. Unfortunately, they bought the wrong game for themselves. They wanted download, workshop, go, goofy play game. That's not what this is. Now, you can do it that way, but that's not what the intention of the game is. And so a lot of people get disgruntled because they've never bothered to learn how to build in this building game. They never bothered to learn how to engineer in this engineering game. They just download something off the workshop and use it. And because they never learned how to build anything, then when something is broken, they have to wait for the person who built it to fix it. And if that person is long gone or busy or doesn't want to fix that build or moved on to their next build, which is generally what happens, then the build that that person liked to use doesn't get fixed. Now, the easy, simple answer is to say, hey guys, I have this build I'd like to fix. What do I have to do to fix it? And you'd have a bunch of people help them fix it. But instead, what they do is they go, oh, game sucks, oh, Delta sucks, oh, and they act like an asshole, and nobody's going to help them. They don't want help. They just want to cry and boo and hoo. And so those people you're never going to make happy because they bought the wrong game for what they're looking for. It's not the game for them. This game is about building and engineering, and you can play it other ways, but that's what it is. That's what this is about. You know, you have to have some, you have to derive some entertainment from the actual building process if you're going to enjoy building. And some of these people, they don't give a shit about that. And guess what? It's the wrong game for you. Go play a simple game where you just like, okay, I want to make this car work, so I put 4 tires and I put a battery, and yay, I drive off into the sunset. Or I take a motor. Like, there are games where you go like this. Yay, engine. Yay, wheels. Yay, seat. Yay, drive. Done. There are literally games that do that where the motor automatically connects to the wheels, the seat automatically connects to the wheels, the seat automatically connects to the engine. The reason is because the developer has already done all the logic for you, and the problem with that is you can't customize it. And so the downside is you don't get to build anything complex, and guess what? You play this game for, I don't know, 100 hours, and then you're bored to shit because there's nothing else to do. You can only drop 4 things on a and be done and have any sort of entertainment. Now, the problem is those people bought the game not knowing what it was, and they think that somehow the game should completely change to cater to their needs and completely change what it's about. That's not how any of this works, you know. You still hear today people like, oh, you should revert the pressurization update. 1, it's not going to happen. 2, it shouldn't happen. It's a good update. There's a lot of great stuff in there. You know, there's a lot of benefits they don't see because they don't build anything. And literally, like, it does not take long to learn these things. It really does not. I do have a backup somewhere, Erasmus. It's just, like, I had 173 backups, so I've got, like, 20 backup folders to go through to find it. Cap, just to clarify, but I think it is fine. Is it allowed to use Pterosaur's preset size microcontrollers which no logic on? Like, what do you mean? Just make your own microcontrollers. No, just make your own microcontrollers. Like, this is how you make a microcontroller. All right, name it something. That's mine. Where's the other one? You know, make your own microcontroller and then use it. You know, don't grab pterosaurs, anything off of anything. No, just make your own microcontroller. You know, I have one I named blank. That's all I did was name it blank. I start with that. It's just a blank microcontroller. And then you want to make it a bigger size, make it. I don't know why you would, yeah, because it's going to get into, well, somebody said you could use pterosaurs microcontrollers. Just like, no, just make your own microcontroller. So much easier for me to have to dart around the rules all day long. Well, that's the thing is, see, that's why I get a little frustrated with the people who don't build stuff. It's not that, like, I have no problem with them playing the game. The issue I have is they want the game to change to suit them. And no, there are already, like, most games are super simple building games. Like, here, let's look at them real quick. So, like, for example, Space Engineers, right? Space Engineers, unless they've changed it, Space Engineers, unless they've changed it, you take a battery, you put it anywhere in the build, and guess what? The electricity goes everywhere. All right, you take a rocket, you put it anywhere, it automatically works. That's fine if that's what the game's trying to accomplish. That's not what this game is. This game is the one game out of all of them that you have to actually engineer and build stuff yourself. And that is what makes it cool and different, and why people can pour 6,000 hours in. Here, you know, I've never played Trailmakers, but I believe it is one of those simple building games where you just plop things on. Now, there's a whole thing where, you know, for example, you know, they talk about it as it has a, you know, it has ideally with a game, let's say this is the room, right? You want it to have a low floor and a high ceiling. That means it's easy to get in, and you have a lot of playtime. Okay. Now, Stormworks is, as far as I'm concerned, let's see, it has a reasonably high floor. Let's make a square again. It has a reasonably high floor, but it has a very high ceiling. You know, you could play this game for the next 50 years and never learn everything you'd ever learn, and you could get better for the next 50 years because it has a pretty much an infinite ceiling. You know, you could learn everything there is ever that was ever designed in Lua. You could learn everything, every engineering concept, but it has a high floor. You have to jump up there to get it. So you have to put in some effort. You have to go build a ladder to get up there, and that's tutorials to be able to get on the floor. All right, now you have games like, you know, I assume Trailmakers has an incredibly low floor, right? You can just walk right in. But the problem is its ceiling is right here. You can only stick a couple motors and a couple wheels on builds for so many times until you hit the ceiling, right? You can't, as far as I understand, can't make your own microcontrollers. You can't tune your engines. You can't come up with interesting systems. It's got a very low ceiling. So, for example, you might play this game for, I don't know, 500 hours and never touch it again because you're bored to tears. You've done everything there is to do. Now, Stormworks, on the other hand, with a ceiling up here, I've got coming up on 7K. Alistair's got 10K, right? There's a reason why we can play so much is because you always can get better. You can always learn something. This, eventually, like, you learn everything there is. You can only plop an engine on a plate and add 4 wheels so many times before you know everything there is to know. Stormworks, you could work for the next 50 years and never run out of stuff to do. And so the reason why it kind of aggravates me when those players try to get Stormworks to be like them, they're like, oh, they should make it simpler. No. Go play Trailmakers. That is already designed to be a simpler game. Go play Space Engineers. Go to play Brick Rigs. These are all games designed to have very low floors where you can jump in and build something and just be done. And the problem, like I said, is likely at the end of it, you are bored because you've done everything there is to do. And Stormworks is the only example, as far as I can find, that has that level of complexity where you can do this. And that's why it actively annoys me, because I don't, you know, Delta has said, you know, he doesn't want to do, essentially minimize the complexity of it. He's talked about it in the Q&As, like I said, he doesn't want to, you know, make it too simple. He wants it to be interesting. He wants it to be an engineering game. You know, it's like when people say, "Oh, well, they'll make so much more money if they would just like make it easier or make prefab GPSs and this and that and the other thing." One, I don't think that's necessarily the case, but two, as a business, you don't necessarily want to invite a bunch of customers who you don't want as your customers. Do you really want customers who are gonna then steer the game to where you don't want it to go? No. For example, like you could have a sandwich store. What do you make? Sandwiches. And they're like, you know what you should start making? Soup. And they're like, no, we're a sandwich store. And they go, yeah, but all of us want soup. Well, too bad. Go to a soup store. You know, well, how about filet mignon? We don't do filet mignon. We do sandwiches here. You know, so that's kind of the whole thing, you know. But I agree with you on that one. I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but the issue is if it comes up as a pterosaur microcontroller, it's a slippery slope. CG, just make your own microcontrollers. Let me see. I haven't made a microcontroller forever. Let me try making one here real quick. Okay, let me try to add this. I don't know why it's not searching it when I look it up. Should come up when I do this. I don't know why. Might be one of these. Let me quickly color it, and that will tell me which one it is. Right here. See this one here? That's all you do. Like, literally, that is all you do. So just make your own. Like, literally, that's all you do. Go to microcontroller. Go to new. I already have one called blank, so I'll make blank 2. All right. You have your width and the length set in. Save it as blank 2. You want to call it 2x2? Great, do that. Go back, go to inventory, blank. Here's blank 2. Done. That's all you have to do to make a microcontroller. Now, people are like, well, why don't you just go up there? The reason I do blank is because it takes me 10 seconds to do a blank microcontroller like this. I just go blank, grab my blank, and I edit it from there. So, yeah, just, no pterosaur. That's from the workshop. I'm not bending the rule because it doesn't have this or this or this. Just make your own microcontroller. It'll take you 10 seconds. Like, literally, you could do blank 1x1, blank 2x2, blank 3x3, blank, 1x5. Make your own. Yeah, like Tripper's saying, I've well over 5,000 hours of this game and I haven't been bored yet, and I'm always learning. Exactly, and that's the thing is, like, I've been wanting to make another modular engine tutorial series because I've found better ways to do things. I want to do another car one because I've found better ways to do things, and you're always learning better ways, and better is also subjective. There are things that I prefer. Things change in the game. For example, I don't use electric radiators very often. But I know a lot of people like them. So in my tutorials, I put the electric radiator. I don't use an electric radiator. But because I use them sometimes. But, a lot of people like them, so I put it in there. Okay, how's it going there, Animation? How are you? How's it going there, Park of the Pug? Hello. Yeah, so like what Variante says, oh yeah, I kind of enjoyed Trailmakers for a while, but it's exactly like that. You end up dependable on what developers create. It's more like a Lego toy. Yep, and that's the thing is, this is stormworks here. Let me get rid of the blank. Let me actually see if I can't delete these. I got to delete these off at some point. But this is stormworks. Like, you take all these parts and you make it. Okay, you want to put an engine in, even if you take the most basic engine, right? You take, where the hell is it? Right here, small engine. You take this most basic small engine. You have to go in here and run it. In a lot of games, if you put a seat and an engine on the same grid, it just magically works. And the reason is the devs have made it for you. Well, the problem is you can't supercharge it. You can't change the ratios. You can't learn how it works. You don't know how the gearbox works. They just put in a gearbox and it just works. It's cartoon stuff, and that's fine if you want that. That's why I don't play Trailmakers, because I don't want it. I don't go in the Trailmakers forums and say, hey guys, you should be more like Stormworks, you should add all this complexity. No, they have their game. Their game has its goals, and this game has its goals. And that's why it actively frustrates me when you get some players who come over from like a Trailmakers who want to turn this into Trailmakers. No, go back to Trailmakers if you want Trailmakers. This has something different. I get you. Darkside Tripper likes soup. Yeah, it's logic in general. It's microcontrollers are just logic, and the better you get at logical thinking, like here, let's grab. And that's the cool thing, is the ability to get better. Now, a lot of people don't. I don't want to say lazy, but a lot of people just don't want to invest the time, and that doesn't mean they're lazy. They could work all day and they're tired, and they don't want to go dick around all day and spend 6 hours trying to make a car that works, and I get that. It doesn't mean they're lazy. They could just be busy. Some people could be lazy, or it just doesn't. And I don't like to use the word lazy because it's not really accurate either. It doesn't necessarily have to do with laziness. It has to do with what you're interested in. Some people are just not interested. They just want to drive a car around, and that's fine. But that doesn't mean it's good or okay or the right thing to do to then try to completely change a game, you know, for, what is it? To completely change a game into something you want. Like, this was the first build I ever built. Let's see what it is. I think it's this one. So this was the first build I ever built. Okay. It looks terrible. It performs terribly. Like, look at this hull. This hull sucks. It's got, like, this is all we had when I first started playing. We had these. But it's like, these were the old gearboxes. You know, like, where the hell is even the logic? Like, there's no logic on it yet. It's just like, it doesn't float. I don't think I ever got to logic because it doesn't float for shit. You know, and so for a lot of players, they don't want to get in here and do the work. And that's, again, fine. They could have a busy life. They don't want to do it. It just doesn't interest them. That's perfectly fine. Some people like to do other things. Some people like to watch sports. I find that terribly boring. Oh my God, look at that. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Okay, so let's like go through what I did next. So here's the next one. Right? Horrible. Right? What did I do? Like, let's look at it. I flattened the bottom. No, I didn't. What did I do? I changed center of gravity, I think, a little bit. But you can start to see, like, it's a mess. Like, if you looked at this right now, you say, that's a mess. It's got center of gravity problems. Doesn't have a good flat bottom. Doesn't have a buoyancy. It's too pointy. It's got all sorts of problems, you know? And you get better over time. So what did I do? I just wanted to get something that worked. I knew it was a mess, but I wanted to get something to work. I put some floats on the sides. Can I get this thing to sit up straight? And so I never even continued on this build because it was it needed more work. So my next set of builds that was kind of good. Oh shit! I gotta scroll all the way to the bottom. I wish I could scroll to the bottom. I can't scroll to the bottom. Let's see. So like this was my first build that I was kind of like happy with and proud of that actually worked well. This one was like not far off of that one. It floated all right. It had some cool new systems. Like I really worked on trying to get systems going. You know, this one, it has a moving counterweight, which like that's way too fast now. It's diesel electric. It has ballast tanks. It has a modular engine in there. It has electric drive. Like, this one started to get some systems in there. Like, I started making my own systems. I made auto ballast systems and foghorns and all sorts of active stability. You know, spotlights to be moved with arrows. I started doing electrical systems. Like, you know, a lot of people don't give a shit about any of this stuff. So, guess what? It's not the game for them. Like, if you don't give a shit about some of these systems, it's not the game for you. You have to be excited about like learning new things and like coming in here and like I wanted to learn how to make these what are these? These the 8 segments, I can't remember what they're called. You know, I wanted to learn how to make the panels work. I wanted to do automatic ballast systems so you type in the keypad of where you want your ballast to be. You know, this was a very early build and that's what interested me. And a lot of people could not give a shit about ballast systems and everything else. Well, guess what? May not be the game for them. Like this. This has my speed as a digital, I think it's 7 segments on those. You know, so you have 7 segments on those with speed and wind direction. That was something neat to learn how to make, you know. The radar is not mine. I've still yet to build a radar. But we have, like, you know, so just like transponder locators and stuff like that. And so, like, some people just don't give a shit about any of that. Well, guess what? It's probably not the game for you if you don't care about making systems in a game that is designed about all making systems. You know, this was like the one my first build I started getting proud of, you know, was you started making a build that worked, you know, and that was a good sense of accomplishment. If I had just thrown 2 engines in the build and thrown a panel on there, I would be so friggin' bored to tears. You'd get maybe 250 hours and I'd be like, yeah, that game's boring, I'm done, you know. Catch up with chat and then I gotta go use the facilities and get a coffee. Yeah, I don't know Lua for shit. All right, I'm going to quickly go take a coffee break here. We'll get a drinky poos and use facilities. I'll be right back, guys. Alright, I am back. Let's fix this up real quick. Alright. Alright, yeah, so I think that's one of the things that makes this game, like you can play forever. Like, you look at some of the hours people have in this game, and it's, you know, you can have thousands of hours, because there's always something to do, there's always something new. It's like, all you have to do is look at any machine ever built, and, you know, you can come up with something cool to do. Let's look at, TTIS Mark II complete. Try to get TTIS wrapped and out, I think. We'll do. Trying to get it cleaned up a little here, and we'll get it out. Be careful on some of those things to color them. Maybe we won't. I might not try to get this out right now. We'll see what happens here. Try to decide what I want to do next. So one thing I was talking to Alistair about yesterday was the thinking of maybe doing a new series, maybe multiplayer with doing cargo ops. And so essentially we would do, I have to make the video and everything else for this. Do cargo ops where, like, I did a video on something I like to see, which is palletized cargo. And so, like, for example, let's look up pallets. So, like, we look at my pallets here. I have my default pallet. I already have some that are built. Like, I have these 50-gallon drums. I have different liquid ones here. I have a rescue pallet that can be slid in the back of a plane, so you have all your rescue equipment just in there, and then take it out so you can use the plane. And then I have, like, a template. And so it'd be kind of cool, like, we do some forklifts to get rid of this friggin' motor that's in my hand here. You know, to build a bunch of pallets and stuff, and maybe do, like, a series of cargo. I think it'd probably be better as live multiplayer. The problem I have is if I make it as a video, like, when I used to do Cap Air, which was all, like, flying passengers around, the issue was that, you know, it would take, like, 4 hours to make the video sometime. Not that long, necessarily. Maybe 2 hours to make the video. And then it wouldn't get that many views. And so it was like, you know, it was a lot of work to get a video nobody watches. So that's always kind of a pain in the ass. And then I think it would be a little bit more interactive to have, you know, like, some people play with me where we have people running forklifts and tugs and moving cargo around. And what we'll essentially do is, like, I'm not a huge fan of, like, oh, we'll just use add-ons. Oh, we'll just use add-ons. When you rely on add-ons and mods, you inevitably take it out of the control of the developers, and it becomes problematic. And I'll kind of show you what I mean is, let's go to, oh, I can't even remember the name of it now. What is it? It's probably still my subscribed items. It isn't. What's the name of the mod, the pasture mod? I can't remember. Stormlink. Stormlink, okay. So Stormlink is a good example of this. End of Line made Stormlink. Stormlink was fantastic when it worked. Stormlink has been abandoned a long time by End of Line. All right, and it barely works. Now, says update for Industrial Frontier is in progress. Meantime, use the Stormlink Lite as a workaround. All right, so that is from a long time ago, that message. If we look, find End of Line's last comment here. It's quite a while ago. Let's find End of Line right here. Note, update for Industrial Frontier is in progress. May take a while as new stations need to be made. In the meantime, Stormlink Lite should still work as it does not need the large stations, which are currently broken by the new track design. That was October 14th, 2022. All right, so we're coming up on 2 years from then, and there has been no progress on this. It is now, there's nothing. And so it does not work at all for Industrial Frontier. this one doesn't work well because some of these stations are in the way because the landmass changed when they did Industrial Frontier, and they moved some of the terrain items and they improved some of the terrain. This doesn't work. The other thing too is you're kind of beholden to whatever the mod developer or add-on developer decides is a good idea. And the problem is, like, I don't want this big station in my map. It causes a lot of lag. There are also some other problems with using the mod is if you buy 10 stations, it spawns all the pastures at all 10 stations. You have to close the station in order to get rid of the pastures, so it's a lag fest. So you have to have your own dedicated save just for Stormlink. There are also some things that I don't think are the best. For example, like FJ Warner. Actually, where is it? There was another one this guy made. Let's see. There's an unofficial update for Stormlink. Let's see. Here's the Stormlink Lite. That still theoretically works. Some people, I think, in the comments said it doesn't work. All right, so somebody else made this one. This is the unofficial update by Anao. They made this unofficial Stormlink update, which has Industrial Frontier. There's some weirdness here where, like, for example, like, this is the type of stuff they put in. You don't have to put these terminals in, but this is huge lag. And so, like I talked about in my video, I would much rather the devs make it innately within the game where, like, the pastures don't spawn everywhere. They only spawn when you want to do the mission. Like, you get a mission to take 10 pastures from FJ to O'Neill. They don't spawn. They're not in the world until you get to FJ. When you get close to FJ, just like a regular mission, the pastures spawn in. Then you take them. There's not, like, literally with Stormlink, you could have 500 NPCs on the map at once, and it would lag out your whole game because it's trying to render everywhere. And so, and then, you know, one day End of Line decides, oh, I don't want to play Stormworks anymore, and then the add-on doesn't get updated and it becomes out of date, and it doesn't work right anymore. And so I think when you have it innately in the game, it's much more likely to get fixes and edits, and as the developer makes a change, they say, okay, this is going to break this thing we did, we got to go back and fix that. You know, so I would much rather it be an innate part of the game than an add-on, frankly. But what we'll do is we'll probably use add-ons in the multiplayer session, but add-ons I make. So it'll be like, we'll do cargo here to there. It's just going to be mostly me spawning the components, us using forklifts to load them up, fly to wherever we're going, grab forklifts, and unload it. So, if I do that as a series, but I think that'll be fun. Yep, the first to serve on any multiplayer sessions are always the members and patrons, so... All right, so like something like that would be kind of cool. Like, you know, we could just do something like this, you know, and I talk about it when, you know, one of the, like, something like that would be cool to transport. That's friggin' heavy. That is 951. So you'd have to have something strong enough to lift this in, put it in the back of an airplane. You'd have to do weight and balance. That's something a lot of people don't think about, is you have to do weight and balance on these things. So it'd be kind of cool to be able to do this stuff and to load it in. You know, so I made the video. If you guys liked the idea, go support that video. Let me see if I can find it. But I had a video for it of feature requests somewhere here. Right here. Airplane cargo. So, like, this was a feature request for going and having that type of thing where, for example, it says, hey, you need to take 3 pallets from FJ to O'Neill. And so you know that, okay, well, this plane only holds 1 pallet, this plane only holds 1 pallet, this plane holds 5 pallets, so I'm going to take the Albatross, or I'm going to do 3 trips. It also allows you to, for example, if you want to fly a regular standard cargo container up to the Arctic, and you only have one container, that might not be enough money. You might not make enough money off that one to make it. But there's also a mission at O'Neill to go take 4 pallets to the Arctic. Well, you stop at O'Neill, you load up your four pallets, and now you have 1 cargo container and 4 pallets. You fly up to Tajan, and you drop them all off. It would also be really cool, for example, you have to, like, say this pallet here needs to go to JSI. Okay, well, how the hell are we going to get it to JSI? Say it goes from Tajan in the Arctic to JSI. Okay, well, how the hell would you do it? Well, you fly it into the closest spot, which is FJ. You offload it, put it on a truck, and then drive it via truck down to JSI or a helicopter, whatever the hell you want to do. So I think that would be a lot of fun. You know, again, multiplayer sessions, it's a benefit of being a member. You get that first. So if that fills up with members or long-time subscribers, they get first crack at it. If there's still openings, we'll go to other people. But for the most part, that's who it goes to first. But that was something neat, I think. And that would, you know, if you saw when I was building all the mining vehicles, it's good for me to have like a goal like that because that really gets me interested in making some builds. So let's look at the cargo plane. I might work on that a little. I'm trying to make solid progress on this, Johnny. So this is a 2-container cargo plane. Do a little work on this maybe. What do we got on the floor? Nothing really in the floor. This is nothing in there so far. Might continue a little bit on this. Let's see. Yeah, so stuff like that I think would add to the game where it's, again, you know, the devs talk they don't want to add to the map because, you know, the map's big enough. And to a certain extent, I agree with that. To a certain extent, I don't. The part I don't agree with is the fact that, parts that I don't agree with is, you know, the map is incredibly compact. I would like to see it, the map is incredibly compact. I would like to see it a little bit more fleshed out. Like, you know, everything's so compacted. A little bit of flesh out on that I think would be beneficial. Like adding islands. Like one notion I had is add a bunch of islands. Like the map is a reasonable size, but we don't get to utilize it. Like, let's just go like this real quick. So like the other thing I would like to see is like, look at how close these are. I hate how close these are because it's fine for sea vehicles. And, you know, pretty much for sea vehicles. But, like, for flying, like, the only real place you want to go for flying is up to the Arctic. I know I speak for myself on a lot of this, but the utility of an airplane is distance. That's the utility of an airplane is distance. And so what I'd like to see is an island here, an island here, an island here, an island here. They don't have to be huge. Like, literally, these islands are plenty big. Like, even if they want to repurpose some of these islands and make them permanently affixed out here, I would like that. What I would really like to see is islands that have, for example, like if we looked at the size of this island, like put a runway in, put a fishing village, put a seaport in there, and then like if you put it out here, like people are complaining when fishing update came out because they're going to complain no matter what, but you know, there's a lot of fish out here. Yeah, you got to get in your boat and go out. Well, if there was an island here, you would now take an airplane, fly out here, go fishing. Well, there's no place to sell fish out here. So what do? You then take the fish, load them on an airplane, and fly them back to sell. That adds good gameplay. It gives you a reason to use your airplane. Airplanes are pretty useless in the game. Unfortunately, I really wish they would do an airplane pass to make airplanes useful. Like something simple like this little village here. Noah's Village has a viral outbreak. So you have to put on a hazmat suit and you have to bring a pallet of medicine to Noah's Village. So you fly in with a little bush plane, land at Noah's Village, take off the medicine, deliver it to the delivery area. Let's say there's a hospital here. You have to get it within 10 meters of the hospital. So you bring the pallet, put it right up next to the hospital, then you get in your plane, you leave. and then the mission completes when you bring the pallet. You know, that would be a cool mission, I think. You know, that would add good gameplay, I think. That sort of thing, I think, adds to the game a lot. That's, like, I keep seeing people like, oh, we need more search and rescue. I get that, but I don't understand, like, what do you want from more search and rescue? They very rarely say, like, what kind of missions they would like. It's like, tell me what kind of missions you'd like, because I just, like, I can't imagine too much more search and rescue that would be, like, what would you actually want added to the game? I just can't imagine, like, there's that much search and rescue. I would much rather personally see some more industrial stuff, frankly. Can I get something in there? Probably not. Yeah, because the one element of this game that is like every mission is pretty much, I would say every mission. The vast majority of the missions in game are search and rescue missions. It's like when people act as though, like, you know, I thought this was a search and rescue game. It's like, that is the majority of what this game is search and rescue. You know, there's like not a lot of other missions. It's like, yeah, you can go mining if you want, but it's not like there's anything restricting your search and rescue. If anything, it's mainly a search and rescue game, you know? Like, some of those people act as though there's some, like, they've taken away and stolen away what they bought the game for, which was search and rescue. And it's like, they haven't taken any of that away. It's all still here. You know? It's a lot of hyperbole, frankly, but, like, you hear that all the time. They're like, I bought this for search and rescue. Okay, well, when did they take it away? They didn't. Still search and rescue there, guy. Don't know what your problem is. Still, like, every mission that pops up is search and rescue, pretty much. You know, and I like search and rescue, but it's just like, you get some people that act as though there's no search and rescue left in the game. And it's like, what are you talking about, man? It's all search and rescue. It's like, there's no logistics gameplay, there's no farming. It's like, it's just all missions are search and rescue missions. But I don't understand what their thought process is with that. See if we can get better integration here. I can play with some shapes here for a second, see what I can do. You know, I'd love to see some farming in here. I'd love to see some like real good logistics where, like, you know, you have a steel mill and you need to take steel to the steel mill, and then that steel goes from the steel mill, you know, or from the where you mine it, it goes to the mill, and then it makes I-beams, and the I-beams need to go to a construction site, and you add this tiered gameplay where you start to, like, you make more things, and so you want to sell it for a lower price to just do steel, you can. Or you can go to the next step and make more money by selling it as I-beams, you know. Bunch of games do that to really good effect. That make it a lot of fun. All right, that integrates a little bit better there. Trying to decide if I want to add more fuel into this or not. You'll go in the belly here. I don't know if I want to bother or not. I integrate this a little bit better here. Like we've talked about farming before, how I'd like to see farming. Yeah, I think that would be really cool to add to the game. This is going to be weird back here. I can't add this up the way I would want. No. See if I can just get it and copy it over here. You know, Delta has talked about, like, they don't want to add a lot of land mass, and I understand that because it's like there's a lot of empty space. So, for example, like farming, I don't think I need to add land mass, but they could add, you know, they could add it to where I think on the Sawyer Islands there's a spot that is underused. And so, like, they could add to a lot of areas, too, and add factories and stuff like that. It would really add some good gameplay. Because at the end of the day, this is a vehicle building and engineering game, and if you give us more things to build and engineer, I think that's where, you know, like, you can't go wrong with that. You know, people are going to build what they're going to build. You notice, if you've been noticing watching the official, you've seen a lot of farming equipment lately. People enjoy building farming stuff. You know, I built some after when I took the break in October, you know, waiting for a pressurization major update to kind of get fixed. You know, we did some multiplayer streams of farming sim. You know, and it got me in the farming mood. And then I went ahead. Oh, this has got to be fixed if I do this. Then I went ahead and we did. You know, I built some farm equipment. You know, it was a lot of fun to do. You know, but we don't have much utility for it. So it was the same thing like before the weapons DLC. People were building war machines way before they ever had any content to actually use them. And then once they had the content to use them, they build a lot more of them, and they actually have functionality. And so it's like, that's kind of a win-win for the devs, is like, you see what the community is enjoying, and then you build that. And so, like, farming would be great for that. Like, think of all the equipment you could build, like combines and tractors and all the implements, and how cool that would be. And adding new systems like PTOs and everything else like that. That would be really fantastic. It's a little bit better sculpted there. Trying to decide if it's getting Night Owl's paint or it's getting my regular cargo paint. I haven't decided yet. You know, I think the gatekeeping you get to see some people doing where they're like, it's a search and rescue game. This doesn't belong in a search and rescue game. It's like, listen, dude, nobody's telling you how to play. Why are you telling other people how to play? It's a building game. If somebody wants to build some farming equipment, they build farming equipment. Like, how does that pick your pocket? I just don't understand how it picks people's pockets. Yet they love to tell other people that they're playing wrong. I think it's silly. Like, somebody wants to go play Sinking Ship Survival. That's not wrong. Might not be the intended feature of the game, but it's not wrong. Go play it. You can play it. As long as you can play it, you can play it, you know? Certainly not the way I like to play, but it doesn't mean it's wrong. You know, now when you say that ships don't sink 98 times, that is obnoxious. We all know my thoughts on that subject. That was almost going to be the challenge. Was to make a sinking ship. But I was bored me to tears. So they started to add these jagged edges on some of the new engines, and it's all about noise reduction. Is the as the air comes out of the jagged section, it runs into other air, and essentially the air bangs into each other and dissipates, and then it reduces the noise waves essentially coming out. So that's why they do these like jaggedies on the nacelles now. I'll show you some pictures of like the rolls with the jaggedies on them. Let's find a rolls. Let's see. Let's see. Need one with the jaggedies on it. Right, right here. You can see on the back here it has that scalloping in the rear. That's so the air comes off and then it swirls and it bangs into the other air and it reduces the noise by canceling out the waves off of the airflow. It's all for noise reduction. You can see it there. Here's a better view here. See the scalloping on the ends. So it comes out here and it swirls and then it bangs into more of the other air and it reduces the vibrations from going out. So it really cuts down on the noise. How's it going there, Zizo? How are ya? Oh, did they break up the concussion? That makes sense. I very rarely use the actual thrust off the jet nozzle here, but I do on this plane. This plane goes 317 knots, so she a fast one. This is a powerful Johnny. I need to do flaps. Flaps need to come in and finish the door. I got a bunch of superfluous. A lot of these panels are going. Autopilot can go. Let's see, is that AP there? That's AP. So this AP can go. Gyro can go. Flap spoiler brake stain. Gear. I think I have another gear panel going here, right? Gear. Where's my gear? Gear's in there. So gear panel can go. Let me find it first. Gear. Dimmable lights. Do that later. Lights. I think I might have lights over here somewhere. How many gear panels do I have here? Three gear panels in there. All right. What are you, sir, madam? Pilot seat selector. That's a seat selector. Let's see if I have one. I may or may not have a seat selector. Let's see. That goes. Lights. We'll leave lights for now. Turn coordinator. All that shit can go. That's all good. What are you, sir, madam? Bearing panel. That's the new one, I think. Is that plugged in? That one's plugged in. That's the old bearing panel. I gotta fart around with that. What are you, sir, madam? Throttle, prop, seat controller. Let's get rid of you. Don't need you. Thanks. Oh, Jesus Christ. I deleted a bunch of stuff over here that I didn't know what I was... Symmetry. Ugh. That sucks. All right, let's delete. AP. Gyro. Dimmable lights. Flap spoiler brake stain. Light stays. All that goes, okay. All right, this goes, I believe, let's double check it. Gear, yep, that goes. Electric panels are going, turbine controller goes, fire panels go, bearing panel go, throttle, okay, that's fine, they all go. All right, that's cleaned up. All right, I want to hook up the flaps. Let's look in the cockpit and get this cockpit working. All right, how do I want to do some of this? A bunch of this is getting moved, so let's start moving. Okay. Start getting this paneling all set up here. I definitely wanted to get the functionality of this moving first before I went and made it like a 10-minute startup procedure, because that's when it becomes a pain in the ass to get the thing going every time. Now, what is that? That is AP. That's got to be bearing there. Let's go. AP should be mode control center. What is that? Okay, that's engine information. What are you, madam? ITT? Yeah. Inlet turbine temperature there. Trying to set it up like it would be IRL too, so I gotta kind of move a bunch of shit around to get this where it needs to go. Pain in the ass here. Do a little bit of Tetris here, trying to get stuff moved. Generally, your mode control panel is up top for working your autopilot. Certain items you want both pilots to be able to reach because the captain doesn't fly all the time. That's not how any of that works. It's pilot flying, pilot not flying. That's how it works. So you have one pilot flying one leg, one pilot flying the next leg. Or else, you know, if it took 10 years to become captain, you'd have somebody who hasn't flown in 10 years. And that's not what you want. So... it's starting to look all right. I've yet to make my annunciator panel for the plane yet, but I'd like to put the annunciator panel there at some point. What do we got here? What's this? Transponder locator. It's gotta be ramp. What's that? Dimmer, light dimmer. I don't know what that is. All right. I'd say the flap controllers on the cap air plane. Kind of said I want to do this. That's the cap air setup here. I'm gonna add new systems too, so let's not fuck with that too much. I'll just look at the panel. We'll make a custom panel. I'm trying to. The problem with copying old stuff is as you get better, you tend to copy old stuff that's not as good. So let's not do that. Let's go to flap spoiler brake. Okay, so this has a bunch of systems in it, like thrust lever position, which when I flew the Embraer 145 is the way the spoilers work on planes is different. Say, for example, 737. 737, you pull the spoiler lever up, and it will arm it for landing. And so when you land and you touch down and you get weight in the wheels, it'll pop the spoilers up. If you start to throttle up and take off again because you're doing a go-round, it will drop the spoilers so you can take off again. The way it worked in the 145 was as soon as you went over a certain speed and the thrust levers were back, it would put the spoilers up. And then if you push the thrust levers up, it would then drop them. So it's a different system. It works on this. So what's that go out to? Spoilers. It might integrate more of this system too. I'm trying to see what I have in this, because this has night owl stuff too, and I'm probably gonna change a bunch of this. I'm leaning towards cap air stuff for running the main panel. So that would have 2 thrust levers. What is this? Spoiler and flaps, I'd say. Yep. Spoiler flaps. That's park brake, spoiler position. This is turned sideways, but park brake release, flap position, park brake, spoiler positions. That's positions. This is the engine start system. So that is fuel valve, starter, pneumatics, crossbleed. So I'm going to put in a crossbleed system. And what does this have? That's got that. That is engine. And 1, 2, 1, 2. EGTs. Set vertical speed needs to go. That's crap. Not doing reverses on this. Okay. Kind of leaning towards this panel here. With some modifications, so. You know, there's a bunch of stuff on the overhead panel I want for this. Like, this has bats. Looks like bats, gens. Check gens. Nope, ground power connect, gen 1, 2. Fire test, APU fire. Yeah, I like all these systems. I might drag a bunch of this shit in because I'm trying to do a realistic pneumatic system, so I'm kind of thinking of taking some of this stuff in. This is more complex jet systems, which I want. This is when it gets a little bit complicated to start. It's a pain in the ass to test. That's why we did all that testing first, was to try to get that out of the way. You can see the dimension differences between this plane and that plane. This one's much bigger. Alright, so flap spoiler brake should plug right into that. I know I'm going to regret some of this probably, but we'll, I want to get this going here. The overhead panel especially. I got to look at the overhead panel. Why is that so low? Have you set up higher in the cap air jet? I guess we did. Put that there for now, and I'll see what I want to do. Might raise the seats up. Now let's see what the overhead panel looks like on this. I kind of like the crossbleeds down here more. The pneumatic systems. I have no fire test on this. This is all blanked out, so we're going to get rid of this. I'm going to have to do a bunch of writing to get this to work, but I think it's going to be worth it for a better... like, I want it to be a big jet and have all the big jet systems, so... Unfortunately, I've deleted a bunch of shit. The stuff I just deleted was stuff I probably should have kept. Because like fire test was all in there. I'll bring it all back, but I can't go on the roof here. That's something I got to keep an eye on here. Like, people underestimate too how cramped it is in these jets. Like, you're sitting up pretty high actually. Go sit in there, see what that feels like. Like, you're right at your, like, this is how close you are to the overhead panel. Like, you're not far away from, yeah, sitting way up too high for this. Yep, big jet energy. They're going to drop us back down. And I'll move the, we'll add some stuff in the middle here. Could keep the panel high and just finish the panel off is what I could do as well. Problem is reaching stuff in game is different than IRL. Like IRL, the panel would be up here. in-game. Might work better down there. Let's quickly do a seat. Make sure I can work everything in the panel. See if I want it up or down. Everybody and their brother likes to angle them. They're not really angled IRL. Flat. Okay. That's good view on that. Got a space underneath for some of these other accessory panels. Alright, I dig that. I think that's where I want it to be. Overhead panel is a little bit too high now. We'll drop that down, I think, one. Try to finish up the ceiling a little bit. We'll at least make a little progress. I have to go back and do a ton of panel work, but again, it's make a good final product. Make it a nice, realistic jet. Oh, stop that. Spawn it. Let's go give it a check. That's all human factor stuff and how you feel in here. Alright, so we have battery A and B, battery A, B, ground power connect or power connect. If you have a GPU, you do that. If not, you just do that. You do Gen 1 and 2, stay off. Come over, you do your fire test. All your fire lights will go. You'll do anti-ice and windshield heat we don't touch. Fire test, then you want to come down your APU, turn your APU on, APU bleed. That's fuel crossfeed, beacons on, hydraulics A and B, cabin temperature over there. Then to cross bleed off, we would have one running, cross bleed off the two, start off two, or run the bleed off of the APU. Okay. Okay, that feels pretty good. Bunch of systems to run here. Could I put... It'd be a pain in the ass if I put this on a pivot. I think, like, I like some of that pivot stuff, but damn, it's a pain in the ass sometimes. It really is. It's just unnecessary a lot of the time. I'm working on the VTOL. Dare I angle this sucker? Question. Generally don't like to do it, but... Generally do not like to do it, but let's give it a quick look. Give me this block, thanks. It's gonna be funky as shit, it really is. Problem with where it's sitting. It's not sitting right on those blocks. It's kind of obnoxious. Oh, stop. Looking on random shit. Flick the camera one more time, maybe? Can we just do it one more time? Flick the shit out of the camera? Let's see. I can't get us one closer, can I? Not really. Maybe. Might be able to get us one closer to the glass. Let's see. Kind of a pain in the ass to move all this, but whatever. Do that. That frees up the 4 bangers on that. Could. Digging that. Just looking for phantom physics at the moment. See if I can do a drop down on it instead. Let's try that. Get out of your seat. There we go. That's all 4, so that's not going to do it. I can't do a drop there. What's this? Okay, that can't do anything there. Can't be anywhere there. Yep, can't be there. Yeah, it's got to go up. Alright. Can't be there. That's fine. Okay, good. Yeah, I want to layer this out. That sucks. Actually, that won't be too bad, actually. We can make that work. That works all right. That works all right. We can do that. Let's see where we're going to make the demarcation. That will probably actually be the cockpit wall there. So let's try that. Wall off the cockpit there. Yep, that'll work. Go sit in there, see what we think. Yeah, pretty snazzy. Make sure I can reach everything. That's important. Fire test. Yep, reach everything. Nice. I think that's good. Shaping up nicely in there. I may angle this. I generally don't like to, but could do it. Stop. Stop, stop, stop. Yeah. That's fine. Test that one out independently first. Should probably be about the same. Oh, wrong way. Yeah, it's one. It's a fourth, so it's a fourth. One and a quarter there. Okay. Got a chamber in here somewhere. Alright, good. This will be covered, that'll be colored the same, so that won't show. Yep, that makes sense. Citrus get the, probably be helpful to have the RAM anyway. Alright, good. I completely overdid the... I'm going to have to redo a ton of systems now, which is not the end of the world. Let's do a little bit more fleshing this out, because I'm going to have to write up a ton of panels. Let's put the seat back in. The FO seat back in here. What this is all about. Gone is what it is. Oh, stop. Delete shit. Don't delete random shit. Thanks. Alright, so we need kit bag storage. O2 mask. I'll start fresh on that. That's where your face hugger mask is. Right next to you. And this one here, I can't cut that out. That's a 4-banger. It's fine. Oh, stop. Drag where I want it. There we go. It's a little bit sharp there, but let's see if I can do this. I'll fix the sharpness there. But now at least we'll do that. I put in the seat rails at some point too. I'll put the seat rails in, but for now I'm just going to paint it up. Put jump seats in here too. Oh, stop. Paint random shit. Don't paint random shit, thanks. Oh, stop. Just paint. Paint, you fucker. is it? I think it's this color. Yeah, it's that color. I'll put the carpet color in too. Some of them have carpet, most of them don't now. It's all like rubberized flooring. Easier to clean. There's the Antonov 124 and Miria's paint scheme. I like it. Soviet planes, or Soviet bloc when it was made, but they had, I like their color schemes. Okay. A little bit of touch up here and there, but I think we're pretty good. This is a pain in the ass here, but I can't do much about it because it's a 2x2 there. Could just smooth that transition out a little bit. Still a little bit harsh there. Pretty good carpet there. You got to think out. So I'm going to do a simulated pneumatic system where you actually have the pneumatics work. So that's going to go in there. I like the general layout of this. This feels good. Everything feels comfortable and usable. Yeah, I'm digging it. All right. I wanted to see if I can get the flaps to work. That was something I wanted to get working on. So let's find flap spoiler brake. So we need thrust lever position. So we need to read that off one of the thrust levers. See, now the plane is completely unusable until I get a bunch of stuff fixed. So I do have a distance sensor punched in here yet. I don't think I do. I have a physics sensor yet? I do have a physics sensor. All right, I'll convert that over. All right, just making sure I didn't accidentally kill something. This needs to go here and to the gear panel. How is the gear panel? Right here. Gear. Okay, that goes in there. What else do we need? I need linear speed. Where is it? Oh, we're at linear speed. Okay, that's good. What's that? Park brakes. Okay. And you do not have a parking brake on the nose wheel. Some rare cases had it, generally for off-field landings, but it's incredibly rare. physics sensor, plug that in. I'll go give the flaps a tickle, the spoilers a tickle. Let's put the flaps down. Okay, flapperonis, let's go spoilers up. Okay, flaps and spoilers. Nice progressive flaps and spoilers. Beauteous. All right, that's good. Let's go park brake off. Let's go check them. Yep, false. Check them on. Oh, stop. Brake true. All right, good. We're good there. Let's see. Alright, I don't think we need anything else out of here. Kit bag storage there. I don't think we need anything out of here. Let's get rid of it. Flashlight. That's that's not necessary stuff. Okay, good. Yep, probe there. Alright, so that's good work on the cockpit, getting that going. We do have enough space for jump seats in here. No, stop. 2 bangers. Oh, Christ, been a cracker on a crouton. Alright, there's the closets. What? I did door instead of the other one. Alright, pair of dummy seats in there. Right size for twin dummy seats. 7.5s had twin dummies, 6s, 777s, A320s have double dummies. Yeah, you generally have a double fold closet in there. That fleshes out pretty nicely. Let's drop this off like this, I think. Let's try that. And then we will probably, do I kill it up there? Do I, yeah, let's kill, stop, stop, stop. Alright, so that's coming along nicely. I think that cockpit works out well. I'm glad you got to fix their turtle unit of turtles. That cockpit feels cozy, usable. This I hate, but I can't do anything about it. This needs to be a 1x2. Yep, digging on this cockpit. It works well for me. We got the oxygen, the kit bag holder there. Everything's well reachable. Good. Let's finish up a little paint in there. It's gonna be a process tying all this back together, though. That's gonna be a pain in the ass. But whatever. This has to be done. That's like, you know, I would rather not have to do it, but that's how it's gonna be better. Is to have all the have better systems than the planes before it. So just continually improve on it. But it is a pain in the ass. And for this is probably gonna get like that, I'd say. Jesus Christ, can we like get into slow mode here? Might add fuel in this. We'll paint here and there, but not too bad a shape. Feels beefy, nice cockpit there. I gotta worry about the next level below it. Probably do staircase there. Let's work on that. Right, finish up here in a little bit. There is the... do I push this back one is the question. You have the door here. I should probably push this back one, actually. Problem is, this is where that ends naturally, so I don't want to do that. You see if the I can't tell what that. See if the gear hits. Let's put some jack stands on it real quick. I think the gear is still hooked up fine. We'll jack stand it and see what it does with gear. See if it hits that wall. That's where I'd like it to be, so we can put the staircase there and have it fold into the staircase. Let's see what the fuck. Oh, that's a different gear panel. Let's see, where's gear? It's my gear switch here now. 10. Oh, my gear stuff. I bet you I deleted it. Looks like it. No, I didn't. Oh, it's back here. Alright. That's for lights. This is lights, so some of the lights get shut off when the gear folds. That's what it is. Let's see. Eventually you'll find it. Where the hell is it? Gear right there. And this goes back to gear position. $10 and $12. Okay. Okay. Looks good so far. Okay, that shows through. That's fine. That's where the staircase will be. So, all right, good. So that'll work. Oh, I hate these stairs. I really do. What am I doing here? Why is that so high? All right. Take two. There we go. All right, there we go. Gorgeous. Sure it doesn't go behind the closet. Perfect. It does not. All right, excellent. That works out well. Good. Let's see if we can't finish some of this wrap on here. Gotta figure out where I want to put these doors too. Eventually you'll find where I have to friggin' drag this to get that to come up. Or we won't. We'll just say screw it and then we'll come over here and we'll do this manually. It's gonna be off a block, isn't it? Go from the ceiling. Perfect. That actually can be cut there. All right, that works. Okay. Go less extreme on that shit and just finish it up. Do I need you? I do, okay. Try to do less bullshit here if I can. We don't do that. Problem is I want to put a door there, right here. How far down does it go? This goes way down here. Over fluffing this, I think. I'm gonna underfluff this a little bit. Looks funky if I do that. There's not enough transition. don't really want to open this back up again for fuckage, but yeah, see, it's only one block off anyway. Not gonna screw with that. What am I gonna do to finish this? Can't be that abrupt, but we can do middle ground or something. Trying to get a couple doors in the front here, so I don't want to put too much facade nonsense in there to block it out. Should be able to get a door right there, I think, if I do this. Cat is so not slick. He just like lays on my arm when he wants food. Not very slick. Like, here, I'm just gonna bug you till you feed me. I don't know, it's kind of funky in here. I'll have to figure out what I want to do with this. Yeah, this is gonna be funky as shit. Might be able to just do some sort of like, I don't know, overhead bullshit to get that kind of done, but I gotta figure out where I'm gonna put these doors. The doors can go anywhere in here. That's kind of, yeah, doors can go anywhere like that. Would be kind of cool to have air stairs, but I don't know, something like that, I think. Yeah, so it's making good progress. I gotta rip through all the panels again, but I think it was worth it to get the cockpit set up more like how I want it. So it'll take a bunch of work, but cockpit's well set up now, I think. Got that kind of spaced out where I want it. It was definitely worth doing, so excellent. All right, guys, so I think we'll finish up there. That was good bunch of stuff done. Good testing on cooling mechanics. Try to get a video out when I can on that. So thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you like the video. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. And I will see you guys in the next one.